Chapter 52:17. The door of the Divine Union opened, and Yen Ryu, Morong Ching-chang, Monkey, and the others came in. They realized that there was only Lin Xian around. Morong Ching-chang asked, "Has the Boundary Emperor Senior left?" Lin Xian nodded. Lord Alcohol had already left. The Savage Wilderness Ancestor, Fantasy World Ancestor, and the others also sighed. Such a person was elusive. After leaving this time, they would probably never see him again. However, they soon looked at Lin Xian. They knew that with Lin Xian's talent, he would reach that level sooner or later. You should be safe now. They won't dare to attack you again. If there's any danger, contact us. The Savage Wilderness Ancestor said a few words before returning. The battle this time had also injured Dao Zhong. They had to hurry up and recover. The other families and sects of the Divine Union were the same. Lin Xian told them to rest and recuperate. What do you plan to do next? The Crimson Dragon asked. They felt that it was time to cultivate in seclusion. Lin Xian said, "Next, I'm going to the 1,000 Dragon Court." The surrounding people were stunned. Morong Ching-ching also said, "Brother Xian, are you having a fever? Why are you going there?" Yan Ryu also said, "Yes, you just finished fighting with them. Are you going there? Are you going to start another war? I won't let this matter rest. If Lord Alcohol hadn't come this time, I would have been in danger. Does the 1,000 Dragon Court really think that I'm a pushover?" "Humph, Lord Alcohol just ordered the patriarchs not to make a move. I want to see who in the 1,000 Dragon Court can withstand my anger." Lin Xian's eyes flashed with killing intent. If the patriarchs of the 1,000 Dragon Court didn't make a move, he could casually beat up the other geniuses. This time he wanted to let the 1,000 Dragon Court know the consequences of offending him. Good idea. The Crimson Dragon jumped out. "We'll wipe out the 1,000 Dragon Court." Yes, that's right. Aren't they arrogant? Aren't they attacking the Divine Union? This time we'll kill his family and let him know what it feels like to be attacked. Yen Ryu was stunned. The others were also stunned when they heard about it. This Lin Xian was truly domineering. Soon, Lin Xian swallowed a medicinal pill and rose into the air, leaving the path and heading towards the 10,000 Dragons Court. When the Taoist patriarch learned of this, his face was filled with shock. When they heard by Susu's voice transmission, they were stunned. He was going to the 10,000 Dragons Court. They quickly came to their senses and shook their heads with a smile. The 10,000 Dragons Imperial Court was truly pitiful. They had actually provoked such a demon king. On the buried Emperor Star, there were also some people from the other clans and sects who stayed behind. After all, they also wanted to inquire about the quasi-emperors. However, they did not see the quasi-emperor. Instead, they saw Lin Xian and the others leaving the path and flying into the distance. What was going on? Where did Lin Xian go? The battle had just ended. What was he going to do instead of recuperating? Countless people were stunned. Someone was following them in secret. They discovered that Lin Xian had gone to the 10,000 Dragons Court. What did this mean? These people were all stunned. With the enmity between Lin Xian and the 10,000 Dragons Court, he definitely wouldn't go over to chat and drink tea. Could it be that he wanted to make a move against the 10,000 Dragons Court? The moment this thought came to their minds, they sucked in a cold breath. They thought of a possibility. No way, this kid is so bold. Hurry and inform the clans. I feel that a storm is coming. These people quickly informed the others. In an instant, the clans and sects of the buried Emperor Star were shocked once again. Countless gazes gathered on the 10,000 Dragons Court. At this moment, the atmosphere in the 10,000 Dragons Court was extremely oppressive. They had joined forces to form 3 great Emperor weapons and were prepared to kill Lin Xian. However, they had returned empty-handed. This time, they had suffered a crushing defeat. This was something that they could not tolerate. However, the enemy was too strong. He was a quasi-emperor. He was so strong that they felt despair. Damn it, if the Dragon Emperor was still alive, the wine-sword immortal would not dare to be arrogant towards us. Some people gritted their teeth and roared. However, some people shook their heads. Forget it. As long as the great emperor doesn't come out, a quasi-emperor is not someone we can provoke. Damn it, it's all that Lin Xian's fault. If it weren't for him, our 10,000 dragons court wouldn't have fallen to such a state. That's right, Lin Xian. We have to kill him, with a quasi-emperor behind him, who would dare to make a move against him. So what? The quasi-emperor said that the patriarchs were not allowed to make a move, but the great sages below the patriarchs could. No matter how strong Lin Wuti is he really invincible? I don't believe that no one below the patriarchs can kill him. Yes, that's right. Let's control our cultivation and gather our strength before making a move against him. He killed the dragon prince, so it's only right for us to take revenge on him. Even the quasi-emperor couldn't say anything. If they were really anxious, even the quasi-emperor wouldn't be able to do anything to us if we joined forces. These people gritted their teeth and roared. However, the other patriarchs and living fossils had cold expressions. The current Lord Dragon Tomb had once again returned to live in seclusion. Such a person would only appear in a life-and-death situation. Usually he would have to be sealed. Even when he cultivated, he would have to be sealed. However, their hearts were bleeding. This time, 3 patriarchs and 2 living fossils had died. What kind of damage was this? One had to know that it was very rare to become a patriarch. There were even fewer living fossils left behind. This time, the blow to them was really too great. It could be said that it was a heavy blow. It was likely that the 10,000 Dragon Court would not be able to recover for thousands of years. Damn it, in the golden age of the Emperor's Road, was the 10,000 Dragon Court going to be eliminated? The young cultivators of the 10,000 Dragon Court were filled with despair. The death of a few patriarchs made them feel like the sky was about to collapse. Outside the 10,000 Dragon Court, a group of people appeared. The leader was Lin Xian. The group of people quickly landed. Who was it? Stop! The guards of the 10,000 Dragon Court shouted angrily. In this situation, who would dare to behave atrociously here? However, when they saw who it was, those guards spat out a mouthful of blood. Lin Xian, you still dare to come? They realized that the person who came was actually Lin Wuti. It was because of him that they suffered heavy losses this time. Several patriarchs had died. They wanted nothing more than to tear him into pieces. But now he actually took the initiative to come knocking on their door. Far away from the 10,000 Dragon Court, there were many figures standing in the mountains. Some people were using an array formation to observe the situation ahead. Those people were shocked when they saw it. It was really Lin Wuti. Heavens, he went to the 10,000 Dragon Court. What did he want to do? Lin Xian looked ahead and said coldly, "Tell your patriarchs that I'm here for revenge." Revenge? The guards of the 10,000 Dragon Court were stunned. Those who were watching the battle in the distance almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The ones who suffered the most in this battle were the 10,000 Dragon Court and their allies. Although Lin Xian was injured, the patriarchs and top geniuses were not dead. Now he wanted revenge? They sucked in a breath of cold air and were terrified. This Lin Wuti must not be provoked. That's right, the 10,000 Dragon Court was probably vomiting blood now. Such a person could not be made an enemy of. The other party was a demon king who would make his enemies fall into eternal darkness and despair. Chapter 52:18. When the 1,000 Dragon Court heard the news, they were also stunned. What did you say? Lin Wuti was here, just outside. What a joke. If he dares to come, isn't he afraid that we'll kill him? What did you say? He said he was here for revenge? Those dragon race powerhouses vomited blood. Damn it, why is he here for revenge? We should be the ones taking revenge. These people were so angry that they stomped their feet. Damn it, he was too arrogant. What did he mean? Was he looking down on them? Damn it, let him come in. Let's attack and tear him into pieces. The dragon race elder roared crazily. At the same time, the array formation opened a passage. Lin Wuti, if you want to die, then get in here. Lin Xian sneered and strode in. I'm not here to die, but to take revenge. The 1,000 Dragon Court attacked me. How do you plan to die? Kid, don't be arrogant. Do you think that with a quasi-emperor behind you, you can do whatever you want? This is the emperor race. Since you're here today, don't even think about leaving. The 1,000 Dragon diagram released a few terrifying auras, shaking heaven and earth. Toad and the others turned pale. Lin Xian sneered. You dare to appear with the aura of an ancestor? Do you want to die? Why? Do you want me to invite a quasi-emperor to appear? As soon as these words came out, a few old figures in the sky almost fell from the sky in fright. Those few terrifying auras also became obscure. The other experts were gnashing their teeth in anger. You're too arrogant. Do you think you'll be safe if the ancestor doesn't make a move? That's right. There's no need for the ancestor to kill you. The others are enough. Oh, is that so? I have the same idea. That's why I'm here today to spar with you. Let's have a life and death battle. A fair battle. Those below the ancestor of your sect. When I appear, life and death will be up to fate. Damn it. Are you trying to bully my dragon clan? The 1,000 Dragon Court elder roared. The Dragon Court saint, the Dragon Wind saint, and the others gritted their teeth and roared. Those young dragon race powerhouses shouted angrily. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Fight fairly? Just kill him. In an instant, more than a dozen figures soared into the sky. Lin Wuti die. Black dragon descends. Azure dragon emerges from the sea. Heavenly dragon soared. All kinds of top-notch, unique skills flew and instantly enveloped Lin Xian. Boom! Lin Xian snorted coldly. His divine body bloomed with radiance as he punched out, shattering heaven and earth. At the same time, Sword Chi swept out and cut all the young dragon race cultivators in half. Half of these people had their bodies and souls destroyed, while the other half screamed and fled. In the end, a demonic seal descended from the sky and killed all the remaining people. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen dragon clan geniuses had fallen. Blood, mist spread, and the 10,000 dragon dynasty people all went crazy. Damn it. Those elders also rushed over in a frenzy. Some of them even couldn't help but use their extreme Dao weapons. Let's see who dares to use an extreme-grade weapon. Don't use the Patriarch's power either, unless the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty is tired of living? The Crimson Dragon roared. He had his eyes on some of the Patriarchs. Lin Xian made a powerful move and arrived in front of a Saint Lord Elder. Release killing intent on me. I'll give you a chance to challenge me. He punched out with a single punch. Out. The 6 Dao fists danced in the air, causing Old Yu to vomit blood and roll on the ground. Damn it. Rage of the Lightning Dragon. The old man transformed into 9 lightning dragon heads and roared into the sky. The lightning that he struck out had destructive power. Lin Xian opened and closed. A monstrous, demonic energy swept across the 9 heavens. He sent the old man flying. Then he split the old man in half. The power of the heavens' secret god eyes destroyed the old man's soul. A Saint Lord expert had fallen. The 10,000 Dragon Dynasty people all went crazy. The Dragon Wind Saint roared and gathered the power of a saint to kill him. In an instant, 10 Saint Lords appeared and surrounded Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Why a group attack? As you wish. He waved his hand, and behind him, Yan Ruyu, Monkey, and Morong Qingqing also walked out. The 4 princes faced the 10 Saint Lords and swept them in all directions. The 10 Saint Lords were instantly beaten until they vomited blood. Damn it! More came. 20 of them came. 30 saints were making a move against the 4 princes. The battle erupted, and it was abnormally terrifying. The spectators outside were all going crazy. 30 saints. What kind of terrifying strength was that? Even if the old ancestor didn't come out, it was enough to sweep everything. Lin Xian was in danger, right? But soon they realized that wasn't the case. Lin Xian and the other three were sweeping everything. Heavens, is this the power of an emperor? The four of them together were enough to sweep everything. The Saint Lords went crazy and didn't dare to believe it. The four of them were able to block their attacks? Damn it. Activate our dragon bloodlines and work together to kill him. These people all belonged to the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. They were all connected by dragon bloodlines and were extremely terrifying. Terrifying dragon phantoms appeared on their bodies. They were like the dragon ancestors that covered the sky. Lin Xian and the other three felt a huge sense of danger. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly. A demonic shadow appeared behind him. It was abnormally mysterious. The moment it appeared, it swept in all directions. A 7-colored phoenix phantom appeared behind Morong Qingqing. Yan Ruyu condensed a green lotus phantom. The monkey roared and swept the sky with his iron rod. At this moment, he seemed to have transformed into a battle god. The four of them attacked forcefully and blasted away the dragon illusions formed by the saints. The 30 Saint Lords spat out blood and retreated. Their bodies were broken and their faces were pale. Damn it, how was that possible? When the others from the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty saw this scene, they all went crazy. Even 30 saints working together were defeated. Damn it, were these four people heaven-defying? Even the Saint Lords couldn't suppress them. Perhaps the only one who could defeat these four people was the Patriarch. But peak great sage existences weren't allowed to attack. Otherwise, a quasi-emperor would attack them. Who else would come? Was the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty a bunch of trash? They couldn't even withstand a single blow. Lin Xian stood at the front and shouted coldly. His loud voice spread over. The spectators in the distance were stunned. Lin Wuyi was actually so strong, as expected of an invincible great sage. The 10,000 Dragon Dynasty had really fallen into the hands of a young man. They probably wouldn't be able to raise their heads again. A bunch of trash. Seeing that no one dared to attack, Lin Xian snorted coldly. 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. From now on, wherever I go, all of you will submit to me. Otherwise, I will destroy your star souls. Lin Xian left behind a cold voice and then left the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. Those people were so angry that they spat out blood, but no one dared to attack. Damn it, they wouldn't let him off. Those elders gritted their teeth. They swore that they would think of all sorts of ways to kill him. However, it was useless. Lin Xian swaggered out of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. He was completely unharmed. The spectators sent the news to the buried Emperor Star. For a moment, the entire buried Emperor Star was shocked. Lin Wuyi actually returned to the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. Moreover, he beat up the Saint Lords of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty until they spat out blood. In the end, no one dared to fight him. He stepped on the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty alone. Lin Wuyi is too strong. Why do I feel that no one can fight against him? It's over. Even those princes would be overshadowed by him. Could it be that the world would be his in the future? Could he really become a great emperor? If he ruled over the world, some families didn't dare to think about it. For example, the Blue Race, Dragon Sea Race, Golden Crow Race, and others were all terrified. Chapter 5219. The Dragon Sea Race and the Blue Race were all allies of the 10,000 Dragon Court. Even the 10,000 Dragon Court had been defeated. Could they resist? They would probably end up in a miserable state. Sure enough, they were attacked. It was not Lin Xian who attacked. It was the Divine Union and their allies. For example, the Nalan family and the Linghu family attacked. They wanted to take back what they had lost. In an instant, the Dragon Sea Race, the Blue Race, the Golden Crow Race, and the other families were all heavily injured. The buried Emperor Star was shaken once again. For example, the people from the monarch clans all had serious expressions. This was especially true for the imperial princes. They felt immense pressure. They had never thought that a young man who was not a prince would make them feel like they were facing a great enemy. Damn it! Qilin Zi gritted his teeth, his eyes emitting an extremely cold, killing intent. On the other side, Kunping Zi also took a deep breath. Previously, he had fought with the Dragon Prince. Now that the Dragon Prince was dead, was he going to fight with Lin Xian? Gu Feng's expression was even colder. Damn it! Since his debut, he had been suppressed by Lin Xian. This was driving him crazy. Just you wait. One day, I will trample you under my feet. He swore. The entire buried Emperor Star was talking about Lin Xian. As for Lin Xian, he had already disappeared. No one knew where he had gone. In fact, he had joined forces with Murong Qingqing to cultivate. The previous battle had given him a deep understanding. Now he had to cultivate properly. He knew that those people would not let this matter rest. Gradually, the battle stopped. Everyone began to cultivate once again. Those princes and top sky prides were crazily increasing their strength. As for those big families and sects, they were also recuperating. In the previous battle, too many of their elites had fallen. The Holy Abyss ancient city had also quieted down. However, countless legends had already spread here, especially legends about Lin Xian and the Divine Union. The three great orthodoxies were still places where countless geniuses wanted to enter. Previously, the three great orthodoxies had their own victories and defeats. However, it was different now. People from all over the world, and even people from the universe, had all come. They had all arrived at the three great orthodoxies. All of them were vying to enter the Tao. When the people of the Heaven sect and the Earth sect heard this, they shook their heads and sighed. Very few people want to join them. There was no other way. Lin Wudi emerged from the Taoism and became famous throughout the world. This was especially so when the other party did not have an imperial bloodline. Yet he was able to kill an imperial bloodline and even make the imperial bloodline bow their heads. This was simply a heaven-defying feat. Therefore, he was treated as an idol by countless young geniuses. Everyone wanted to be like him, so these people had to join the Tao. More importantly, they wanted to join the Divine Union. For a moment, the elders of the Tao were grinning from ear to ear. They realized that supporting Lin Xian was the right choice. If this continued, they would be able to surpass the Celestial sect and the Earth sect in terms of their Tao and stand above everything else. This was all because of Lin Xian. In the Divine Union, Bai Susu and the others were overjoyed. The Dragon Palace no longer existed. The Divine Union had become the #1 power in the Tao and gathered the best geniuses. The others couldn't compare to them at all. If this continued, they didn't dare imagine how much the Divine Union could grow. Lin Xian did not care about these things. At this moment, he was living in seclusion and cultivating peacefully with Murong Qingqing. The quintessential world, which was also the origin star, was the place where everything had started. Previously, when the spatial passage to the buried Emperor Star had been opened, the quintessential world had quickly recovered. The aura on it had become extremely mysterious, and the strength of the people on it had also increased rapidly. In the past, the quintessential world did not even have a sage. However, many sages had appeared now, and even some pinnacle figures had appeared. Of course, it was still incomparable to the buried Emperor Star. However, it was much more terrifying than the stars in other universes. Everyone knew that the quintessential world was extremely mysterious and had some ancient legends. Even the people of the buried Emperor Star did not dare to be too presumptuous. On this day, in the central region of the quintessential world, the earth trembled. The earth trembled as a huge crack spread out. Then the void was torn apart. Countless rays of light danced between heaven and earth. This phenomenon shocked everyone in the quintessential world. What had happened? Countless people looked up. The quintessential world had sacred grounds and some terrifying sections. Even the emperor clans had residences and territories here. At this moment, they were all looking up at the sky with shocked expressions. The same was true for the deity's palace in the central region. What was that? They were all astonished. Quickly go and investigate. The people from the deity's palace all went to investigate. It was not only them. The sacred grounds and sects of the quintessential world were also doing the same. However, they soon discovered that the rays of light had disappeared. However, something astonishing had appeared under the ground. A huge crack had appeared in the central region. Everyone went to investigate and discovered that there was an ancient city under the crack. It had a majestic aura and carried the vicissitudes of life. This was in existence from tens of thousands of years ago. It had actually been preserved so well. Could it be that there was a heaven-shaking secret hidden here? There must be countless treasures buried here. Everyone prepared to investigate. However, they were all repelled by a power. Some experts were unwilling to accept this and tried to force their way in. As a result, their bodies were instantly torn apart and turned into blood mist. The others were terrified. They no longer dared to act blindly without thinking. Instead, they stood there in bewilderment. It was best not to offend such an ancient and mysterious existence. After waiting for about a month, the gate of the ancient city opened, and a few figures walked out. These were all young figures. They soared into the sky and looked in all directions. These young figures were all wearing ancient Taoist robes. They carried an ancient aura. As soon as they appeared, they arrived above the 9 heavens. There were actually people inside. The sacred grounds and sects of the quintessential world were all stunned. What an ancient city this was! These people were all from the ancient era. They did not dare to believe it. No one could live for such a long time. Those young figures arrived in the sky. They looked down with incomparably cold expressions. At this moment, a terrifying light came from the ancient city below again. It formed a golden, heavenly steel that stood in the void. What was this thing? Countless people were stunned. However, this golden heavenly steel was constantly flickering with a mysterious light. The aura of laws on it flew in all directions, piercing through the universe. After about a day, all the lights flew back. Then, names formed one after another on the golden, heavenly steel. This was? Countless people were stunned. They realized that each of the names on the list was extremely amazing. At this moment, all of them were gathered on this golden, heavenly steel. What kind of method was this? Also, who were the people in the city below? Why were they doing this? Chapter 52:20. The few youths who had walked out from the city below looked at the golden sky steel. Then they soared into the sky and flew in all directions. The people of the quintessential world were shocked, but no one dared to go down to investigate. They could only wait. At the same time, the myriad worlds were in an uproar. After the battle between the Divine Union and the 10,000 Dragon Court, the buried Emperor Star gradually quieted down. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that such a top-level battle wouldn't happen again in a short period of time. However, on this day, the various large families and sects welcomed a figure. Of course, only the top families and sects knew. The others seemed to be at a loss. A mysterious figure also descended from the Sky Sect and the Earth Sect in the Holy Abyss ancient city. It was a man wearing an ancient robe. He had a handsome face and a mysterious aura. His arrival caused the people on the road to be astonished. The Tao Sect's guard said, "Young master, please wait. You're not from the Tao, right? Furthermore, the Tao's test has already ended. If you want to join, please come back next year." "I want to see the Tao's patriarch," the mysterious man said. The moment he said that, the others went into an uproar. Many people laughed. Who was this kid? He was so arrogant. He wanted to see the Tao's patriarch the moment he arrived? That's right. Did he think he was an emperor? or Lin Wudi? Who gave him such face? These people shook their heads. The two guards also wanted to say something. However, the mysterious man snorted coldly. He emitted a mysterious aura from his body and directly flew into the passageway. How dare you attack our Tao? The guards drew their swords and sabers. The mysterious man before them was very mysterious. Who knew if the 10,000 Dragon Court was going to attack again? Just as the battle was about to start, a voice came from the depths of the Tao sect. Everyone, stop and let him in. The surrounding people were stunned. They could tell that it was the savage wilderness patriarch's voice. Heavens, could he really see the patriarch? Countless people went into an uproar. The guards also put away their swords and sabers and said respectfully, "Young master, please." They were also shocked. Who exactly was this person before them? The mysterious man was very fast. Soon, he arrived at the core region of the Tao sect. The guards retreated, and the elders of the core region personally led the way. Elder Bai led the way. He was also puzzled. Who was this person? However, he didn't dare to ask too many questions. Elder Bai led him to the great ancestor's residence and left. However, he was even more puzzled now. "Come in." A voice rang out from within the mansion. It was the voice of the savage ancestor. With a wave of his sleeve, the surrounding formation disappeared, and the man in Taoist robes walked in. Two figures stood in the courtyard. One was Patriarch Desolation, and the other was Patriarch Fantasy World. The two of them looked at the young man in front of them with grave expressions. "That aura just now was unleashed by you?" Savage Desolation Ancestor asked. "Where are you from?" The Illusory World Ancestor also spoke. The man in the Taoist robe did not say anything. He waved his hand and took out a badge. It was a simple and unadorned token. A palace was drawn on it, and it seemed as if it was about to fly into the clouds. It seemed to be unusually ethereal and mysterious. When they saw the token, the bodies of the savage ancestor and the fantasy world ancestor shook. Their scalps went numb. In the next moment, they were so excited that their eyes turned red. Had it finally appeared? The sound of something tearing through the air could be heard in the distance. Two more figures arrived, a man and a woman. They were the other two patriarchs. When they arrived and saw the token, they also cried out in surprise. It had appeared. The stars in Fantasy World Ancestors' eyes flickered. I always thought that it was an ancient legend. I didn't expect it to really appear. Patriarch Barbarian God laughed out loud. "Young master, please." They became extremely respectful towards the young man. The young man nodded and followed. They walked inside. The four patriarchs arrived at the deepest part of the Tao. There was an ancient palace there that was currently sealed. The four patriarchs formed hand seals and tore open the seal. They walked in. There was a statue there. It was a man with an extraordinary aura. Auspicious clouds surrounded his body, and wind and clouds gathered under his feet. It was as if he was about to become an immortal. He seemed to be holding a token in his hand. Although it was a statue, one could clearly see that the token was the same as the one in the Taoist robe man's hand. Fantasy World Ancestor and the others bowed respectfully to the statue. "Greetings, ancestor of the Tao sect." This man was the founder of the Tao sect. He was the one who created the Tao sect. In fact, it wasn't just the Tao sect. The Sky sect and the Earth sect were the same. At the core of each sect, there was a statue like this. Moreover, these three people came from the same place. This place was hidden mysteriously, and no one had mentioned it for tens of thousands of years. Even the elders of the Tao sect didn't know about it. Only the patriarchs of the three great orthodoxies knew about it. However, they were skeptical and treated it as a legend. But now, a mysterious man came with a token in his hand. This shocked them. They knew that the ancient rumors were all true. The mysterious man looked at the statue in front of him and bowed. Then he looked at the four patriarchs and said in a deep voice, the Yuhua immortal dynasty has opened again. I'm here on orders to invite the geniuses of the current era. May I know who they are? Fantasy World Ancestor asked. Jade Pool Successor, Morong Qingqing. Azure Emperor Successor, Yen Ruyu. Sun Qitian. These three people were the top geniuses who had displayed powerful strength in the battle with the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. They were all at the imperial level. Therefore, the four patriarchs weren't surprised at all, but after waiting for a while, they were puzzled. Savage Wilderness Ancestor asked, "Just these three people?" From what I know, these three people have an extraordinary relationship with your Dao sect, so I came to invite them. I heard that the other one is the Dragon Prince, but he has already fallen, so he is no longer within the summoning list. What about Lin Xian? Fantasy World Ancestor said. Although these three people had an extraordinary relationship with their Dao sect, they weren't from the Dao sect. They all had their own families and sections. Strictly speaking, only Lin Xian could be considered a member of their Dao sect. But now, the other party didn't mention Lin Xian's name at all. Lin Xian, the mysterious man, frowned slightly. Barbarian King Patriarch said, "Lin Xian Linwudi, his name should appear in the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. It's impossible to summon him without him." The mysterious man frowned and looked at the Yuhua token in his hand again. In the next moment, a mysterious light flickered on it, and then it turned into a blood-colored lightning bolt. The mysterious man waved his hand and said coldly, "Lin Xian Linwudi, from the immortal tomb, can't be summoned." The four patriarchs were stunned. Can't be summoned? What else did they want to say? However, the mysterious man waved his hand. "There's no need to say anything. I can't make the decision on this matter, so you guys don't have to say anything either. Tell the three of them to go to the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty a year later. There was a huge opportunity waiting for them." Chapter 52:21. The Taoist-robed man left, leaving behind only the four old ancestors. The four old ancestors' expressions were incomparably solemn. People from the immortal tomb couldn't enter. How was this possible? That's right, if he was from the immortal tomb. How could he have such combat strength and kill the Emperor's son? He was almost above the Emperor's son. People from the immortal tomb definitely couldn't do this. Was there a misunderstanding? Fantasy World Old Ancestor sighed. Lin Xian was from the immortal tomb. This had been spread in Taiqing Ancient City, but no one knew why he was able to cultivate until now. It was as if even the Z Mansion thought it was a mystery. There was even a time when everyone thought that the Z Mansion's prophecy was wrong, but it didn't seem to be the case now. Since the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty issued such a warning, I think Lin Xian must be from the immortal tomb. But why can he cultivate? He probably has his own secrets that we don't know. Fantasy World Old Ancestor sighed. Then what should we do? Savage Wilderness Old Ancestor said. Could it be that Lin Xian was going to miss this opportunity? If that was the case, it would be difficult for him to fight for the throne in the future. The other two old ancestors also took a deep breath. They knew what kind of existence the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty was. And what was that opportunity? It had something to do with becoming a great emperor. The top geniuses of all the worlds had been invited. Those emperors and princesses would also go. If Lin Xian didn't go, then I would be trampled under his feet forever. Fantasy World Old Ancestor said. Lin Xian wasn't summoned, but that didn't mean that he couldn't go to the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. But even if he went, he wouldn't be able to obtain that fortune. The other old ancestors also shook their heads and sighed. Savage Wilderness Old Ancestor looked at the statue in front of him and said in a low voice, "That might not be the case. We still have a chance. Could it be that you want to?" Fantasy World Old Ancestor was also surprised. Savage Wilderness Old Ancestor nodded. That's right, that was his plan. The other three old ancestors hesitated. It wasn't easy for the Yuhua immortal dynasty to open once. As for Lin Xian's talent and strength, I don't think I need to say it. You all have seen it for yourselves. It was even rarer to encounter these two. This time around, if we were to give up, who knows how many tens of thousands of years it would take for the Dao sect to obtain such an opportunity again. For Daozhong, I think it's time for us to do something. I understand. Fantasy World Patriarch nodded. The other two patriarchs agreed. All right, let's summon them then. He passed the order to Elder Bai, asking him to find Lin Xian and the others. When Lin Xian heard the news, he was also stunned. Why did the ancestors want to see them? Elder Bai shook his head. He didn't know. However, he recalled that mysterious figure. Perhaps it was related to that person. Monkey King had already left. Other than Lin Xian, there were only Morong Qingqing and Yan Ruyu. The three of them followed Elder Bai to the ancestor mansion. You're here. Follow me. Fantasy World Ancestor brought the three of them to the sealed hall. After entering, Lin Xian and the other two felt a mysterious aura. The statue in front of them shocked them even more. Savage Wilderness Ancestor said, "This is the founder of our Dao sect, Ancestor, Dao Abyss." Lin Xian was shocked. Murong Qingqing and the others were also shocked. The founder of the Dao sect was also a shocking figure back then. The three of them bowed respectfully. Then Lin Xian asked, "Why did Ancestor call us here?" Fantasy World Ancestor asked, "Have you heard of the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty?" Yuhua Celestial Dynasty. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Yan Ruyu and Morong Qingqing were stunned. "I've heard of this legend. It's a terrifying faction. It's said that this immortal grass is extremely terrifying. It's not from the Emperor race, but it's even more terrifying than the Emperor race. I heard that the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty wanted to ascend to the immortal realm, but they failed. It seems like you know something." Fantasy World Ancestor nodded. The origin of the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty is very mysterious. We don't know the details, but we know that it's a terrifying faction. It once stood at the peak of the universe. Lin Xian was shocked. Could it be that this was a great emperor's family that produced a great emperor? Fantasy World Ancestor said that there was indeed a great emperor, and it was an extremely terrifying one. He even wanted to use his own strength to ascend to the immortal realm with the entire dynasty. Lin Xian was even more shocked after hearing this. What kind of extravagance was this? How terrifying was this person? There are many legends about the Yuhua celestial grass. We don't know if they're true or not. This is because countless years have passed. This is at least 1,000,000 years ago. Even now, no one knows. Then why did Ancestor call us here? Don't be anxious. Listen to us. The Yuhua Celestial Dynasty produced countless experts back then. 3 of them had a good relationship and were like brothers. They came out to train together and came to the buried Emperor Star. Then they opened up a city and formed 3 sections. The city was also built by them together, forming a terrifying force. Lin Xian was stunned when he heard this. He looked at the statue in front of him and exclaimed, "Could it be the 3 great orthodoxies? Holy Abyss Ancient City." That's right. Savage World Ancestor said that the founder of the Dao sect was someone from the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty. The other 2 were the founders of the Heaven sect and the Earth sect. As expected, Lin Xian was shocked. Yan Ruyu and Murong Qingqing were even more shocked. They didn't expect the 3 great orthodoxies to be related to the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty. It was too unbelievable. This had always been spread among the ancestors of the Dao sect. The other elders didn't know about it at all. We even thought that these were just legends. But just now, the people from the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty came. What? Murong Qingqing and Yan Ruyu were stunned. The people from the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty came? Impossible. They were existences from millions of years ago and had long disappeared without a trace. How could they appear? If they had news, the emperor race would have known long ago. It was impossible. The Yuhua celestial dynasty had always existed, but it was sealed. The seal would open once every few 100,000 years, and the interval between each time was too long, so no one could remember. So until now, they all thought that it had disappeared. This time, your luck is very good. You actually encountered the Yuhua celestial dynasty when the seal was unsealed. The Yuhua celestial dynasty sent someone to invite you. The Yuhua celestial dynasty was an extremely mysterious existence. It was extremely helpful for one to become a great emperor. If one could obtain the fortune inside, they could even become an immortal in the future. Therefore, your fortuitous encounter is very heaven-defying. Really? Yan Ruyu and Murong Qingqing were overjoyed. Indeed, it opened once every few 100,000 years. Sometimes, even great emperors couldn't be encountered. But they could. Lin Xian also smiled. Become a great emperor or even an immortal. He clenched his fists. His strength could increase again there. However, Ancestor Huan Shi's expression was solemn. The Yuhua celestial dynasty invited the top geniuses. You are also qualified. Qingqing and Ruyu, both of you are invited. But Ancestor Huan Shi looked at Lin Xian and remained silent. Murong Qingqing said, Brother Xian was naturally more qualified. He was in existence who killed the Dragon Prince. Yan Ryu also said, That's right. Lin Xian frowned slightly. Could it be that something had changed? Chapter 52:22. Seeing Lin Xian's confusion, Fantasy World Ancestor said, You should know that you are from the immortal graveyard, right? Hearing this, Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Damn it, he said, could it be because of this? Fantasy World Ancestor nodded. Yes, it was because of this. You weren't invited? Murong Qingqing's expression also changed. Brother Xian had no fate with the Yuhua immortal dynasty. This was a fatal blow to a young supreme being. Was there no other way? Yan Ryu also asked. Savage Wilderness Ancestor said, Yes, this is the reason why I called you here. Firstly, I wanted to inform you to go to the Yuhua immortal dynasty. Secondly, I wanted to solve the problem of Lin Xian not being able to go. What is it? Lin Xian also asked. Savage Wilderness Ancestor looked at the statue in front of him and said, The founder of our Tao is from the Yuhua immortal dynasty. He has the Yuhua token. Among the disciples of the later generations, with the Yuhua immortal token, they have one chance to go to the Yuhua immortal dynasty to fight for the so-called opportunity. There is only one chance, so we have decided to give it to you. Lin Xian was also shocked when he heard this. There was only one chance in the entire Tao, no matter how many tens of thousands of years it had been passed down. He had never used it before. Was he going to give it to him this time? He knew how heavy it was. He took a deep breath and said, Ancestors, don't worry. When I become the great emperor, I will definitely let the Tao stand at the peak of the universe. We believe in you, and we have high hopes for you. The 4 old ancestors nodded. Then they walked forward and bowed respectfully. Then they formed a seal and took off the Yuhua token and gave it to Lin Xian. After Lin Xian received it, he took a deep breath. He definitely wouldn't disappoint his master. All right, go back and prepare. A year later, they would head to the Yuhua immortal dynasty in the true spirit world. Lin Xian and the other 2 returned. After returning, Murong Qingqing and Yan Ruyu had to return to their respective families. After all, they had to make some preparations. Lin Xian nodded. See you in a year. It wasn't just them. Sky Sect, Earth Sect, and the Emperor race. Some top families and sects were also summoned. Those top dazzling geniuses were extremely excited. 1 year later, in the Yuhua immortal dynasty, they would definitely not miss this mysterious opportunity. People like Gu Feng and Kunpeng Zi clenched their fists. If they could obtain this opportunity, then they would be able to surpass Lin Xian. Some clans even received news that Lin Xian was from the immortal burial ground and was invited. Many people laughed happily. Haha! Lin Xian will miss out on a great opportunity. From now on, he will be trampled under our feet. Many of them became complacent. There were also some people who were worried and asked about it. In the end, they learned that Lin Xian was in seclusion. He was fully prepared for the Yuhua immortal dynasty 1 year later. This made the Divine Union members heave a sigh of relief. Let's see who will be trampled underfoot then. 10,000 Dragon Dynasty had solemn expressions on their faces. During this year, they were really anxious. Originally, the Dragon Prince was going to get this slot. If the Dragon Prince could get in, he would be one step closer to becoming a great emperor. After all, the Yuhua immortal dynasty only opened once every few 100,000 years. This was a great fortune. But now the Dragon Prince was dead. Who would they send? Even the old ancestor couldn't decide. In the end, they could only summon the Dragon Tomb Old Ancestor and let him decide. Half a year later, Lord Dragon Tomb returned with a woman. That woman's face was pale, but her expression was extremely cold. Her aura was terrifying. The old ancestors of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty were shocked. What a terrifying Dragon Dao aura! They all looked at Lord Dragon Tomb. Lord Dragon Tomb said that he would be the young master of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty in the future. Her name was Long Wu. Long Wu. The pupils of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty's old ancestors constricted. But soon they realized that this woman had the same name as the Dragon Prince. But the words were different. Could it be that it was fated? The 10,000 Dragon Dynasty definitely didn't doubt Lord Dragon Tomb. This was the tomb keeper personally chosen by the Dragon Emperor. Thus, they hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Lord Dragon Tomb. Long Wu will be our young master in the future. We will do our best to nurture her." Lord Dragon Tomb nodded and then left the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. Long Wu indeed didn't disappoint the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. Although Long Wu wasn't an empress, her talent was top-notch. If they nurtured her with all their might, her future achievements wouldn't be inferior to the Dragon Prince. They all clenched their fists. Lin Wudi, so what if you're strong? We've also found someone who can compete with you. Now, they also knew that the imperial bloodline wasn't the strongest. Lin Xian didn't have the imperial bloodline. But wasn't he also heaven-defying? Now that they had found Long Wu, they could also nurture her into the second Lin Wudi. Moreover, they decided to let Long Wu participate in the Yuhua celestial dynasty this time. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. The top geniuses of the buried Emperor Star, and even the other worlds, all took a deep breath. They all set off. True Spirit World, Yuhua celestial dynasty. Lin Xian also set off and met up with Morong Qingqing and Yan Ryu. They returned together. True Spirit World. After returning, Lin Xian was filled with emotions. True Spirit World had become even more mysterious and powerful. No one dared to underestimate this world. Even the Yuhua celestial dynasty had appeared here. Who knew if there were even more mysterious existences here? At this moment, the Yuhua celestial dynasty had already been known by the world. The people of True Spirit World also knew about it. No one dared to go there and behave atrociously. That place had become a sacred place. Moreover, everyone discovered that there wasn't only one city in the Yuhua celestial dynasty. At this moment, it seemed that they were still sealed. But just one city alone was enough to make everyone exclaim in surprise. How terrifying was the Yuhua celestial dynasty back then! It was an existence that stood at the peak of the myriad worlds. It was an existence that almost reached the immortal realm. These people all arrived outside the Yuhua celestial dynasty. At the same time, figures flew out from the Yuhua celestial dynasty from time to time and brought these people in. When Lin Xian and the others arrived, a man in a Taoist robe had already appeared in front of them. This man looked at Yan Ruyu and Morong Qingqing and nodded slightly. But soon he frowned. He said, Sun Qiqian didn't come? Morong Qingqing said, we don't know where he is now. The man in the Taoist robe narrowed his eyes. When he saw Lin Xian, he frowned. Who are you? I'm Lin Xian. It's you. The man in the Taoist robe had a cold expression. Didn't anyone tell you? You are from the immortal graveyard. You can't come here. I naturally know, but I brought this with me. Lin Xian waved his hand and took out a token. Yuhua celestial token. The man in the Taoist robe's pupils constricted and his face was filled with surprise. I didn't expect Daozhong to give this to you. It seemed that they were going to stake it all on this. He nodded slightly. Since you came with an immortal token, you naturally have the qualifications. The three of you follow me. He turned around and flew towards the ancient city below. Lin Xian and the other two followed and soon entered. They discovered that there were figures entering continuously. Clearly, these were all top geniuses. They wondered what was waiting for them in the Yuhua celestial dynasty. Lin Xian and the others were filled with anticipation. Chapter 52-23. The ancient city below was extremely large. After Lin Xian and the others entered, they were filled with emotions. They could sense a very mysterious aura. The mysterious man led the way and introduced the situation of the ancient city to Lin Xian and the others. It turned out that this ancient city was only a part of the Yuhua immortal dynasty. Most of it was still sealed. Even in this ancient city, there were many factions inside. These were all passed down from the Yuhua immortal dynasty. But after millions of years of evolution, they turned into many factions. These factions were called immortal foundations. For example, this time, the mysterious man brought Lin Xian and the others to the 9-star immortal foundation. Other than that, there were also other immortal foundations that sent people to invite the powerhouses of the world. The 9-star immortal foundation also had an extraordinary aura. After Lin Xian and the others arrived, they discovered that there were 9 beams of starlight that pierced through heaven and earth. There was a mysterious starry aura and a terrifying array formation above. And above them, there were countless palaces and mansions. This was the 9-star immortal foundation. Everyone, please enter. The mysterious man invited everyone in. Along the way, they saw many guards and powerhouses. Those people also quickly bowed. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He looked around and discovered that those people were all wearing ancient Taoist robes. He was shocked. The Yuhua immortal dynasty was like a world. Although it was a hidden seal, it was still passed down. There were definitely many experts and powerhouses here. Their appearance this time would probably shock the world. There was a lake in front and a small island on the lake. On the island, in the center of the lake, on the island, there were pavilions and terraces. It was like a paradise on earth. Lin Xian and the others went up and discovered that spirit wine and delicacies had already been placed there. The few of you can rest for a while. I will go and invite the 9-star princess. The mysterious man turned and left. Not long after, he returned. This time, there were also a few figures who came with him. Walking at the front was a woman wearing a starry dress. Her face was extremely beautiful, like a goddess of the galaxy. At her side, there were 3 figures following behind her, as if they were battle servants, not making a sound. However, Lin Xian was able to sense that the 3 of them possessed frightening powers. The man in Taoist robes also came. He followed beside them and said to Lin Xian and the others, "This is the princess of our 9-star immortal foundation. Greetings, 9-star princess." Lin Xian and the others stood up and greeted him. The 9 stars' princess' beautiful eyes seemed to contain a mysterious power, as if stars were flickering in and out of existence. She looked at Lin Xian and the other 2 and said with a smile, "I've long heard of the 3 of you. Now that I've met you, you're indeed extraordinary." The princess was too polite. Lin Xian said with a smile, They sat down and began to exchange pleasantries, mainly to get to know each other. When they heard that Lin Xian was from the immortal graveyard, they were also stunned. The 9-star princess was also surprised. She didn't expect Lin Xian to have such an identity. At this moment, a man in battle armor standing behind said, "Don't worry. You probably haven't heard of the 9-star princess, but her strength isn't any weaker than any of the empresses. In fact, it was even stronger than that." When they said this, their eyes were filled with pride. Although they had been living in seclusion and did not go out to compete with the geniuses in the outside world, however, they were the descendants of the Yuhua immortal dynasty after all. The divine abilities and ultimate skills they learned weren't inferior to those of the monarch races at all. In fact, they even felt that they were stronger than the monarch races. Therefore, when facing the geniuses outside, they naturally had the intention to compete. Especially when they heard that Lin Xian was from the immortal graveyard, they all frowned. The Daozhong actually gave their only chance to someone from the immortal graveyard. This was too childish. Did they not put the 9-star immortal platforms in their eyes? Don't be rude. The 9-star princess shouted in a low voice. Only then did the armored man shut up. The 9-star princess looked at Lin Xian. "Young master, please forgive them. These people rarely interacted with people from the outside world. Therefore, they were a little arrogant." Lin Xian shook his head. He didn't care. The 9-star princess still valued Lin Xian very much. She had also collected some information about Lin Xian. To be able to kill the Dragon Prince and even fight against the 10,000 Dragon Court for so long, it was enough to show how terrifying the other party was. More importantly, it was simply inconceivable that someone from the immortal graveyard could cultivate to such a level. The other party must have secrets that no one knew. Such a person was definitely strong. And this time, the immortal platforms of the Yuhua immortal dynasty invited the geniuses from the outside world. Other than giving them a chance to obtain fortuitous encounters, more importantly, it was for themselves. Because only by finding the geniuses from the outside world and cooperating with them could they enter that place and obtain fortuitous encounters. Lin Xian might be a strong helper at that time. After sitting for half a day and talking, the 9-star princess left. Before she left, she instructed her subordinates to treat Lin Xian and the others well and not to neglect them. "Zixing, you will be in charge of Lin Gongzi and the others," the Taoist-robed man said. "Don't worry, sister." This Taoist-robed man was called Zixing. Since he called the 9-star princess sister, he must have an extraordinary identity. He should be a young master or young master. Next, Lin Xian and the others rested for 2 days. Madame Purple Star came and brought them around the immortal platform to take a look at the scenery. Then Lin Xian asked if he could go out and take a look. He was also very curious about the Yuhua immortal dynasty. Therefore, he was prepared to go out and take a look. Of course, Zixing brought Lin Xian and the others out of the 9-star immortal platform and walked outside. This ancient city was called the Yuhua Ancient City. Being able to unlock the seal meant that it was extraordinary in the Yuhua immortal dynasty. Lin Xian and the others could feel a mysterious aura. This aura was very helpful for them to comprehend the Great Tao. If they could stay here all year round, how terrifying would their understanding of the Great Tao be? One could imagine how terrifying the people in the immortal platform were. Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu also asked about some legends of the Yuhua immortal dynasty. Zixing explained to them, which surprised Lin Xian and the others. Back then, the Yuhua immortal dynasty was a terrifying existence. It sounded even stronger than the monarch races. There is an ancient tree in front that has existed for an unknown period of time. Do you want to go there to comprehend it? Zixing said. Lin Xian and the others' eyes lit up. Thank you. They walked towards the ancient tree. The ancient tree wasn't tall, only a few meters. The trunk was really dry. However, it carried a mysterious aura. According to Zixing, many experts had once comprehended the Great Tao here. Lin Xian's eyes flickered with a golden light. He saw mysterious patterns on the ancient tree that emitted a mysterious aura. After sensing it carefully, it was indeed extraordinary. It seemed that he could come here to comprehend more in the future. At this moment, a voice came from behind. Did someone come in advance? How surprising! When Lin Xian and the others heard this, they turned their heads with puzzled expressions. Who was it? Zixing was shocked. It's you. Chapter 52-24. Big Brother Chinmu, you're here too? Madam, Purple Star greeted. Clearly, she knew the other party. A group of people walked over. Among them, there was a man wearing astral battle armor. He looked mighty and extraordinary. He was Chinmu. There was a group of people beside him. They were all wearing long robes. They even wore cloaks on their heads. Their bodies were hidden in the darkness. These people gave off a cold aura. It made people feel uncomfortable. Who are they? Lin Xian asked curiously. Madam Purple Star said, Lin Gongzi, let me introduce you. This is Big Brother Chinmu. He's also a genius with a 9-star immortal foundation. After that, Madam Purple Star introduced Lin Xian and the other two to Chinmu. After Chinmu heard this, he was shocked. They were all emperor-level characters. At this moment, one of the people in long robes stood out and said, You're that Lin Xian Linwudi? It was obvious that they had heard of this name before. That's right. Lin Xian nodded. Chinmu smiled and said, Lin Gongzi, these are the experts of the Sky Snake Clan. They're guests that I invited. Sky Snake Clan. Lin Xian was shocked when he heard this. He had never heard of this clan before. They should be people from other continents on the buried Emperor Star. Or maybe they came from another world. However, to be invited here, it was enough to show that this clan was extraordinary. Lin Xian nodded as a greeting. However, the Sky Serpent clan member didn't retreat. Instead, he said, I heard that Lin Gongzi went against the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty and even killed the Dragon Prince. I want to see how strong Lin Gongzi is. The one who spoke was a woman. However, her face couldn't be seen clearly because she was covered in a black robe. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes when he heard this. You want to fight me? That's right. I heard that Lin Gongzi was also from the dragon race and knew how to use many great abilities of the dragon race. I naturally want to experience it. A cold light flashed in the woman's eyes. Although the Sky Snake clan wasn't part of the Dragon clan, they were one of the few primordial clans that could contend with the Dragon clan. Now that they met an expert like Lin Xian, they naturally wanted to compete. Are you sure you want to fight me? Lin Xian reminded. Fists and kicks have no eyes. Kid, you're too arrogant. Do you really think that just because you can fight against the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty, you can look down on the world? My Heavenly Snake clan is not weaker than the Dragon clan. Another robed man stood out and shouted coldly. What's more, the one who did it was the princess of our Heavenly Serpent clan. You should first think about whether or not you can withstand it. Oh, really? Since that's the case, I'll have to experience it for myself. 3 moves. Lin Xian nodded. The woman from before walked over. Her voice rang out. My name is Kai Lingy. Sir, be careful. Just as she finished speaking, her figure suddenly appeared in front of Lin Xian and struck out with her palms. 2 arms emerged from the black robe. They were abnormally white like precious jade. It was dazzling just by looking at it. These 2 arms easily wrapped around Lin Xian's body as if they had turned into 2 spirit snakes. They instantly began to strangle each other. Lin Xian's body trembled, and his pupils shrank. This person was not ordinary. He snorted coldly, and the 9 yang divine flames on his body erupted, engulfing everything. A sonorous sound rang out as the divine flames collided with the white jade arms, making a sky-shaking sound. The 2 arms were unharmed. Although they were shaken away, they were not damaged. Kai Lingy quickly dodged, and then retreated to the back. She smiled. 9 yang divine body. It was indeed as the legend said. extremely masculine. Lin Xian was also surprised. With the power of his flames, even a great sage would not be able to withstand it. However, the other party was unharmed. This woman was not ordinary. She was definitely a young powerhouse. It seemed that he had underestimated her before. However, he did not care. He had just casually attacked. He attacked with all his strength and was fearless. Kai Lingyi smiled tenderly. Suddenly, a trace of mysterious light appeared in her eyes as she attacked Lin Xian. Even Zixing's expression changed. He felt an unfathomable pressure from the soul attack. Lin Xian naturally felt it too. He snorted and his eyes flickered. However, at this moment, Kai Lingyi had already arrived behind him. Colorful mist filled her hands and enveloped Lin Xian. This was a type of poison. If a great sage was poisoned, they would definitely die. Humph! Lin Xian snorted. His eyes burst out with a shocking radiance and repelled the other party's soul attack. At the same time, he swung his sword. This sword swept across the heaven and earth, splitting the colorful mist. It even hit Kai Lingyi. It split Kai Lingyi into two halves. Did he win? Murong Qingqing was delighted. However, she soon frowned. Lin Xian's expression was also grave. Kai Lingyi, who was split into two, slowly disappeared. Subsequently, a piece of snakeskin fell to the ground. Young master, good sword art. I have experienced it. Kai Lingyi appeared in the distance again. 3 moves had passed. Let's have a taste of it in the future. With that, she put on her cloak again. Young master Qinmu, let's go. Qinmu nodded. Everyone, please. He was ready to leave with the Heavenly Snake clan. However, before he left, he still looked at Lin Xian. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Zixing. The Fallen Star Hall has opened. You can bring a few geniuses there to try. With that, they left. Looking at the backs of these people, Murong Qingcheng walked over and said, "That woman was not ordinary." Yan Ryu also frowned slightly. His movement technique was very strange, and he used a soft power. He also had a powerful eye technique and could use poison. He was indeed a terrifying opponent. He definitely had the combat strength of an emperor. Interesting. Lin Xian smiled. Only this could make his blood boil. He hoped that the people who entered the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty this time would give him a surprise. He did not want to have no opponents on the Emperor Road. At this moment, Murong Qingqing asked, "What was the Fallen Star Hall?" This was a magical place in the ancient city. It had supreme great Tao. However, it only opened at certain times. They did not expect it to open this time. It must be because there were too many geniuses. Do you want to go and take a look? If you can enter the Fallen Star Hall, you might have a chance to comprehend the great Tao. There might be other opportunities. Naturally, they had to go. Lin Xian and the others nodded. Next, they headed to the Fallen Star Hall. On the other side, Kai Lingyi and the others also left. They were also heading to the Fallen Star Hall. Kai Lingyi's expression was also very serious. This Lin Wudi was indeed extraordinary. If I were to fight against him, I would probably only have a 50% chance of winning. The other geniuses of the Heavenly Serpent clan exclaimed in surprise. "No way, Princess, is he really so powerful?" "That's right. I don't think it's anything. Didn't you guys come to a draw after 3 moves? Maybe he was poisoned." However, Kai Lingyi shook her head. "Don't underestimate him. He was very terrifying. All kinds of ultimate techniques were very terrifying. However, if I don't use an extreme weapon, I really want to compete with him." Kai Lingyi's eyes lit up. Chapter 52-25. The Falling Star Hall was a magical place in the Yuhua ancient city. There were stars of the great Tao revolving around it, as if it was in the Milky Way. It was very mysterious. There were many people gathered around the Falling Star Hall. They were all waiting. Some of them gathered together to talk, while others were hostile. They were all geniuses. None of them were weak. It was obvious that the Yuhua Celestial Dynasty had gathered the top experts from all over the universe. Lin Xian also noticed some familiar faces. For example, the clans and sects that he had fought with before. Even the people from the Purple Mansion were here. Lin Xian met Qin Xianer at the Purple Mansion. Qin Xianer was very worried. When she saw Lin Xian, her eyes flickered. Lin Xian was surprised. He didn't go over, but transmitted his voice. "Why? Are you worried about me?" "Don't worry. The Purple Mansion can't do anything to me." Qin Xianer said, "I know you're fine. But there's something I don't know how to tell you." "What is it?" Lin Xian was surprised. "Is the Purple Mansion thinking of ways to deal with me again?" Qin Xianer said, "Maybe." "Let me tell you something. Don't be agitated." Lin Xian was even more curious. Qin Xianer said that Shen Jingqiu was in the Purple Mansion. Hearing this, Lin Xian's pupils constricted, and a terrifying murderous intent emerged. This caused the scalps of the surrounding people to go numb. Many of them turned their heads to look. What's going on? Even Murong Qingqing and Yan Ruyu, who were on the side, were startled. They hurriedly asked, "Brother Xian, what's wrong?" Lin Xian took a deep breath and suppressed his killing intent. He continued to transmit his voice. "What's going on? Damn it. Does the Purple Mansion not want to live anymore? They dared to capture Qiu. Is this a threat?" Qin Xianer shook her head. "According to what I know, it wasn't the Purple Mansion that did it. It was Shen Jingqiu who took the initiative to come to the Purple Mansion." "What?" Lin Xian was even more surprised. "Qiu went by herself. How is this possible? Is he being controlled by an illusion? It doesn't seem like it." The Purple Mansion was also shocked. Not long after that, Shen Jingqiu was announced as the 10th successor. His status is even higher than ours, the 9 great successors. His status was even higher than that of the elders. I guess that there was something he needed, and it was in his Purple Palace. That was probably why he made such a decision. Then, is she here now? Lin Xian wanted to find Shen Jingqiu and ask her about it. Qin Xianer said, "I'm not sure. We don't know anything about her whereabouts. The Purple Mansion's mansion lord is in charge of that. However, I believe that with such a great opportunity in the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty, she would definitely come." "I got it. Help me find out more information," Lin Xian said. Qin Xianer nodded. "Don't worry, leave this to me." "I don't think Shen Jingqiu will be in any danger for the time being. But you have to be careful. The Zifu won't let you off." Lin Xian's expression was dignified. He didn't think that news of Shen Jingqiu would be related to the Purple Mansion. Why did Qiu want to go to the Purple Mansion? Could it be that there really was something in the Zifu? He thought of the golden vortex that appeared behind Shen Jingqiu. There was a blurry figure in it. Lin Xian felt that it was strange before. However, when he cultivated the demon summoning scripture and condensed a demonic shadow, Lin Xian guessed that Shen Jingqiu must be cultivating an extremely powerful technique, similar to the demon summoning scripture. He didn't know whether it was a blessing or a curse. However, thinking about it, there shouldn't be any danger for the time being. He should pay more attention to the other party's news. The surrounding people all turned to look at Lin Xian. Who was this person? He actually released such a terrifying killing intent. That's right, he was too arrogant. Who did he want to attack? Discussions broke out one after another. Some people snorted coldly. They were very dissatisfied with Lin Xian. However, some people said, "Lower your voice. Do you know who he is? He is Lin Wudi. Do you dare to attack him?" "What? It's actually him?" "He is Lin Wudi," countless people exclaimed. Lin Wudi's name was like thunder to their ears. Although not everyone had seen him before, they felt like they had heard of him before. This was an existence that killed the Dragon Prince, fought against the 10,000 Dragons Court, and fought against extreme weapons. He was the Crown King, a young supreme being. The other party's every action was enough to shock the world. How could they not have heard of him? However, they didn't expect that the other party was even younger than they had imagined. Many people were terrified. They no longer had their previous dissatisfaction. After all, such a person was qualified to release killing intent here. Of course, some people snorted coldly. Their expressions were incomparably cold. Some even released their auras to compete with Lin Xian. Those who came here were all prepared to become great emperors and fight against the world alone. Even if they encountered Lin Wuti, they dared to fight him. At this moment, a terrifying aura appeared and swept across the world. It made everyone feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Even Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He turned his head and a terrifying light bloomed from his body, forming an illusion of the sun that swept between heaven and earth. There was a great enemy and a peerless one at that. The other party gave him a fatal threat. Who was it? The others were even more shocked. Heavens! Could it be that someone wanted to attack Lin Wuti? It was definitely a Dharch or someone of the same level. In the next moment, they saw a figure stand up. This figure carried a hazy aura. He was abnormally mysterious, as if he was a god. The power that descended from his body easily shattered the void. What a terrifying aura! What was that? Some people were terrified. Some experts also exclaimed. It was the aura of chaos. It was a terrifying aura of chaos. Heavens! Could it be that he had the legendary chaotic physique? When those words were said, the others were also shocked. No, it was the chaotic physique. It was one of the strongest physiques in the universe. It was not weaker than the nine-yang divine physique. It even carried unparalleled power. One had to know that the power of chaos was the power to split heaven and earth. Now that the chaotic physique had appeared, it was really a world of great competition. This person was definitely a Dharch, a young giant. Countless exclamations sounded. Even Yen Ruyu, Morong Qingcheng, and the others were shocked. Previously, a few Thearchs had appeared one after another. Who would have thought that such a legendary physique would appear now? They wondered what other terrifying characters would appear next. There were also people walking over from the Fallen Star Hall. The Fallen Star Hall belonged to the Fallen Star Immortal Platform. The few experts who walked out were all from the Fallen Star Immortal Platform. They looked at the chaotic physique in shock. How should I address you, young master? They had heard of Lin Xian's name, but they did not know who this chaotic physique was. Even Lin Xian was very curious. As for the others, all of their gazes were on the chaotic physique. The man who was surrounded by the hazy figure said in a deep voice, "My name is Han Tian. Chaotic physique, Han Tian." Everyone deeply remembered this name in their hearts. This was definitely an extremely terrifying expert. He could be said to be a peerless enemy in the hearts of many. Naturally, they did not dare to underestimate him. Chapter 52-26. It turned out to be young Master Huntian. The people from the Starfall Immortal Platform smiled and bowed. Such a person could sweep through everything, so they naturally didn't dare to be negligent. Although this guy wasn't a Dharch, he had a super strong physique. They didn't know who was stronger between him and Lin Wuti. Lin Wuti had the nine-yang divine body, and the chaos body was definitely not weaker than the nine-yang divine body. However, Lin Wuti seemed to have other ultimate techniques. He was someone who cultivated the Thearcha's ultimate technique. Exclamations were heard one after another. They felt that it was very likely that Lin Xian would be the stronger one in the clash between the two. Han Tian, who was in front of Lin Xian, turned his head. His gaze turned into a chaotic light as he stared at Lin Xian, causing the void around Lin Xian to shatter continuously. Yen Ruyu, Morong Qingqing, and the others were also facing a great enemy. The two of them snorted coldly, and their bodies emitted terrifying auras, causing countless people to exclaim. These two people were extraordinary as well. They were definitely at the Dharch level. They should be the legendary successors of the Azure Dharch and Jade Lake. Another cry of surprise rang out. These two were also legendary figures. Who would have thought that they would also come? Lin Wuti was really lucky. Many people looked at him with envy. Lin Xian frowned. He snorted coldly and released an even more terrifying light. The illusion of the sun swept across the sky, resisting the other party's chaotic aura. "You want to compete with me?" he asked coldly. "The 9-yang divine body is not bad. I didn't expect you to cultivate it to such a level." Huntian nodded slightly. "However, I don't like your title. Who in the world dares to call themselves invincible? You are too arrogant. To be honest, you are not qualified to compete with me." As soon as these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. They were all stunned. What? Did they hear wrongly? Lin Wuti was not qualified? What a joke! Lin Wuti's strength was terrifying. He was the king of the crown, a young supreme being. He had killed a Arch. Such a person was not qualified to compete with him? This Huntian was too arrogant. That's right. Does he know how strong Lin Wuti is? Originally, I thought that the chaos body was very powerful. Now that I see how arrogant he is, I feel that he might die early. The surrounding people were well aware of the consequences of going against Lin Xian. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes when he heard that. Not qualified. He snorted coldly, and the 6 suns charged out, suppressing heaven and earth. Everyone felt a terrifying power dancing in the air, and their scalps went numb. They felt as if their bodies were about to burn up. Han Tian let out a cold snort. The primal chaos aura on his body condensed into a primal chaos cauldron to resist the 6 suns. A sky-shaking sound rang out. Endless cracks condensed. The two were evenly matched. You're not that great either. At most, you're on par with the 9-yang divine physique. What qualifications do you have to say that you're not his opponent? Someone in the crowd snorted. There were quite a few people who supported Lin Xian. Han Tian laughed. How would ants like you know how strong I am? What did you say? Many geniuses in the crowd stood up. They were furious. You dare call us ants? Of those who could come here, who was weak. However, Han Tian clasped his hands behind his back and said arrogantly, "The one standing in front of you right now is only my incarnation. Who do you think is an ant?" What? Impossible! Countless people cried out in alarm. This was an incarnation. They didn't dare to believe it. Even Lin Xian's pupils constricted. At the next moment, an extremely sharp light burst out from his eyes. It was a pair of heavenly god eyes. He looked down on heaven and earth. Everyone. They could feel the suppression of their souls, the aura of the chaotic physique. It was also constantly erupting. Lin Xian retracted his gaze, and his face turned cold. It was really an incarnation. He was really too shocked. This chaotic physique was too extraordinary. Han Tian said, "I didn't expect you to have such good eyesight." "That's right, I'm an incarnation, because my true body is too strong. When my true body appeared, none of you were a match for me. Even those princes were no match for me. So, in order to not let you feel despair, I sent out an incarnation. But even so, an incarnation of mine is already on par with you young giants. If you're not ants, then what are you?" Countless people were stunned. These young geniuses were stunned. The genius of the Golden Crow race, the successor of the Purple Mansion race, the experts of the Skyrock race, and the geniuses of the Fate race were all terrified. Since when had there been such an expert? The elders and experts of the Starfall Immortal platform were also surprised. They looked at Han Tian in shock. Could it be that the young master was? They thought of a possibility. Han Tian said proudly, "I'm the Double Crown King." What? Double Crown King? Everyone was stunned. Lin Xian was also surprised. He was crowned as the king of one Crown King. Not only him, but the Dragon Prince and Kuan Peng Zi were also the king of one Crown King. But they knew that the king of one Crown King was not the end. There was still the Double Crown King and the Triple Crown King. but those were things that had not appeared for many tens of thousands of years. They didn't expect that a double-crowned king would appear now. Everyone was going crazy. This was too unbelievable. Double-crowned king. Wouldn't that be above Linwudi and Kuinpengzi? He was even more terrifying than the princes. Where was he from? Why had they never heard of him? That's right, they had never heard of a double-crowned king. Lin Xian didn't believe it at first, but when he realized that the other party was really just an incarnation, his expression became incomparably solemn. It seemed that things were much more interesting than he had imagined. Double-crowned king? I'm looking forward to competing with you. An extremely terrifying aura erupted from Lin Xian's eyes. The sword qi on his body soared into the sky as if he had turned into a sword god. So what if he was the double-crowned king? It had been many years since he was crowned as a king. The current him was much stronger than when he was crowned as a king. He was still not afraid. In fact, Lin Xian felt that he also had the chance and qualifications to challenge for the double-crowned king. Therefore, in the face of the powerful chaotic body, Lin Xian pointed his sword forward. Han Tian, on the other hand, was very arrogant. He smiled and said, "If you want to challenge my main body, it depends on your performance." After saying that, he sat there. The scalps of the surrounding people went numb. "Don't worry, it won't take too long." Lin Xian snorted coldly. He had great confidence. So what if he was facing the double-crowned king? His sword was enough to cut through everything. "Let's go." Lin Xian, Morong Qingcheng, and Yan Ruyu found a place, sat down cross-legged and waited. Next, more experts arrived. At this moment, a figure descended from the sky. Everyone felt that their bloodlines were about to freeze. What a terrifying bloodline! It was the imperial prince. Those who had such a bloodline were definitely the imperial prince. No one could have a stronger bloodline than the imperial prince. This was the consensus of everyone. Sure enough, they saw yin and yang appear between heaven and earth, condensing into a fiend godlike figure. It was Kuinpengzi. Many people exclaimed. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Is the imperial prince here too? Kuinpengzi had also become a supreme saint. The aura on his body was as deep as the sea. He strode over and looked down on everyone. Chapter 52:27. Many people in the crowd stared at the other party. The laws of yin and yang on his body were even more terrifying. Kuinpengzi was also looking around. Soon, he discovered a few terrifying figures. One of them actually had the aura of chaos, which surprised him. But soon he didn't notice it. He noticed Lin Xian. Linwudi. His gaze turned into a sharp sword as he looked at Lin Xian. "You're here." Lin Xian also smiled and nodded. Kuinpengzi also nodded in response. He didn't say anything. Instead, he walked to the side and sat down cross-legged to wait. Previously, when he was fighting with Lin Xian was the first to break through, which gave him pressure. He swore that after he broke through to the great sage realm, he would fight with Lin Xian. But now, although he had broken through, he was in the same realm as Lin Xian. But he didn't make a move because he wasn't confident. Next, many geniuses arrived, such as Fire Dragon Lady and the others. Among them, there was a figure who came alone. There was no light on his body. He was dressed in a long robe and strolled leisurely. There was a smile on the corner of his mouth, but it made people's hair stand on end. Who was this person? Many people were puzzled. They realized that they didn't know him. He was very unfamiliar. He didn't have a terrifying aura on him. Was he qualified to come here? Many people exclaimed. The people from the Purple Mansion frowned slightly. Qin Sienna and the others exclaimed. Yao Guang, he actually came too? These people's expressions seemed to become a little frightened. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He stared at Yao Guang. This person gave him a very dangerous feeling. Although the other party wasn't famous and hadn't even displayed any strength, Lin Xian felt a potential danger, because the other party cultivated the demonic sky-devouring technique. This technique was created by the sky-devouring Great Emperor. It could devour the bloodline and power of other genius experts. He didn't know how many people this guy had secretly devoured. He didn't know how far the other party had reached. However, there was one thing that was certain, and that was that the other party had accumulated enough power. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to come out of Yaoguang. The demonic heaven-devouring art was too terrifying. Once it was revealed to others, he would be hunted down by countless experts, because every family had threats. Now that the other party had come out in the open, it meant that he already had the qualifications to go against the world. Lin Xian's face was cold as he warned Murong Qingqing and Yan Ruyu beside him. Be careful, he was practicing the demonic, heaven-devouring skill. Don't let him set his sights on you. Murong Qingqing and Yi Zichen were also astonished. The demonic, heaven-devouring art. Yan Ruyu frowned. It was actually this kind of cultivation technique. This guy should have already cultivated it to a certain level. Countless voices of suspicion sounded out. None of them knew who light-shaking realm cultivators were. However, a black light erupted from Yao Guang's eyes. He began to look around. Soon he sighed. Most of them were trash, but there were few that he was interested in. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding people were furious. Trash? The majority of them. What a joke. Were they being looked down upon? Kid, who are you? Do you want to die? Do you think you're so high and mighty? Those who dared to say this before were already dead, unless you were also a double-crown champion. Many people stood up. Their auras were as deep as the sea. Even a great sage might not be able to withstand it. However, a few vortexes appeared on light-shaking Realm's body and swallowed the auras. He stood there without moving at all. They were indeed trash. The surrounding people were surprised. Who was this person? Although he was arrogant, the aura on his body was so terrifying. In the face of such terrifying pressure, he was not afraid at all. Light-shaking Realm did not care about these people at all. Instead, he stared at a few figures. He stared at Kunpingzi and smiled. I'm looking forward to the imperial bloodline. Kunpingzi frowned. Although he did not know the other party's gaze made him very uncomfortable. It was as if he was prey that had been targeted by a terrifying demonic beast. He snorted coldly, and the yin-yang aura on his body erupted to resist. Light-shaking Realm retracted his gaze, and then looked at Lin Xian, Murong Qingqing, and Yan Ruyu. He grinned. Although he did not say anything, there was a trace of coldness in his eyes. Obviously, if he had the chance, he would definitely devour these people. Devouring aura, who are you? At this moment, Han Tian spoke in a deep voice. Light-shaking Realm also turned to look at the other party. She was shocked. Chaotic body, the legendary physique. She did not expect it to appear now. Indeed, the heavens are treating me well. Light-shaking Realm was very happy now. If he could devour these people, who in the world would be his opponent? You want to devour me? Han Tian snorted coldly. Cultivate for another 10,000 years. I'm a double-crown champion, he said proudly. Kunpingzi was also shocked when she heard this. She was not here before and did not know. She did not expect a double-crown champion to appear now. What kind of joke was this? He looked at Lin Xian in disbelief. However, he noticed that Lin Xian's expression was serious. He gasped. Could it be that he was really a double-crown champion? Damn it, what was going on? How could such a terrifying person appear? Even light-shaking Realm narrowed her eyes. Interesting. He sneered and walked to the side. Now he no longer needed to hide and make everyone's hair stand on end. Then more people came. They waited for about a day. At this moment, the few elders in front of the Nebula Immortal platform walked out. They said it's about time. We're going to open the Starfall Hall. They formed seals with their palms and shot out a terrifying light. The light above the Starfall Hall became even more terrifying. It was as if an ancient, divine beast had been revived. An ancient and vast aura swept out in all directions. Everyone could feel the voice of the great Tao. If they were inside, it would definitely be of great help to their great Tao. They might even be able to obtain the supreme great Tao. After all, the Yuhua immortal dynasty had more than one great emperor. I'll go first. There were naturally people who were unwilling to give up such a good opportunity. The first to walk out was a powerhouse from the Golden Crow race. His body was covered in flames like a sun. He flew forward. He was very proud. However, just as he was about to step into the nebula hall, he was hit by an ancient star. He vomited blood and flew backward. Countless bloody holes appeared on his body. He let out a miserable cry. The Golden Crow fire fell in all directions. The surrounding people were shocked. This Golden Crow's strength was extraordinary. However, he was beaten out of the hall. He did not even have the right to enter? Heavens, this is too inconceivable. At this moment, the surrounding geniuses took a deep breath. They realized that they had underestimated the Nebula Hall. The Yuhua immortal dynasty was probably more terrifying than they had imagined. The few immortal platform elders stood there with their hands behind their backs. They were smiling. Just wait. Soon these geniuses would know what kind of magical place the Yuhua immortal dynasty was. Chapter 5228. After the expert from the Golden Crow tribe was defeated, another person went up. This time, the person who attacked was even more terrifying. However, he still did not enter. He was thrown out by the stars and vomited blood. The surrounding people went crazy. One had to know that those who were able to come here were all invited. None of them were weak. Even so, no one could enter. Could it be that the Nebula Hall was so terrifying? Everyone's expression was extremely solemn. They knew that they were careless previously. The next few people were also covered in dust and looked extremely miserable. At this moment, an elder from the Nebula Immortal platform said, "Gentlemen, I think you'd better show your true abilities." The origin of the Nebula Hall was extraordinary. Those who could step into the Starfall Hall were all unparalleled experts. At the very least, they were at the pinnacle of the Great Sage Realm. There was even a chance for them to surpass the Sage Realm and reach the Emperor Realm. Therefore, I hope you'll take us seriously. Hearing this, the surrounding people's eyes lit up. The Nebula Hall was so terrifying. Some of the top geniuses stood up. They had to enter successfully. Pinnacle of the Great Sage Realm? Many people's eyes shone with cold light. They knew that it was too difficult to become a great emperor. However, they were determined to reach the pinnacle of the Great Sage Realm. Even so, the pinnacle of the Great Sage Realm was extremely difficult to cross. After all, there were not many old ancestors in each family or sect. However, the number of geniuses was not small. In other words, if 1% of these geniuses could reach the pinnacle of the Great Sage Realm, it was already very heaven-defying. This percentage was not high because it was for the top geniuses. If it was for ordinary people, it might not even be 1 in 100 million. A genius from the heaven sect walked forward. There was an extremely terrifying heaven Tao law condensing on his body. In the next moment, he arrived in front of the Nebula Hall. He displayed his ultimate skill. He finally stepped in. Countless people exclaimed. Heavens, he had entered. He was indeed a top genius in the heavens. His talent and strength were indeed strong. He was the first person to enter the Nebula Hall. However, he only took 2 steps before he was blasted back and vomited blood. Everyone was shocked. What was inside? Did he feel the great Tao? The genius from the heaven sect shook his head and sighed. I felt a trace of mysterious power entering my body. Although I'm injured, once I recover, this energy will be able to increase my strength. Unfortunately, I've already taken 2 steps. If I could stay in there for a while longer, I'd be able to obtain even more of this mysterious power. Everyone was shocked after hearing this. The Starfall Hall was indeed mysterious and extraordinary. It contained a mysterious power. Someone else asked, "What else is there?" That expert said that there were other halls in the Nebula Hall. I saw a stellar gate, but it was too far away for me. Was Nebula Palace really that mysterious? They looked at the elder of the Starfall Immortal platform. However, those elders only smiled without saying anything. Everything will have to be investigated by yourselves. At this moment, an expert from the Tyrants strode forward. His physique was strong, and his strength was boundless. Everyone looked over. It was the Overlord. The Overlord's physique was extremely terrifying. Everyone held their breaths. Could the other party succeed? Under the gazes of the crowd, the Tyrant dynasty walked forward. He entered the Nebula Palace. Countless people cried out in surprise. As expected of the Overlord, he was indeed strong. Was he the legendary Overlord body? Sounds of discussion could be heard one after another. The Overlord entered the Nebula Palace and continued walking inside. With every step he took, he felt his body shaking. Finally, he came to the Stellar Gate. He pushed it open and entered the second hall. In the next moment, he felt that his surroundings were extremely dreamy. He wanted to walk inside. After taking 3 steps, he retreated, his face extremely pale. Did the Overlord come out too? Countless people were shocked. However, the Overlord shook his head and sighed. This was the Supreme Tao. He felt that the laws in his body had become stronger than before. The surrounding people were shocked. It couldn't be. He had only taken a few steps, and his laws had become so terrifying. They sucked in a breath of cold air. The Nebula Palace was indeed mysterious. Those from the Earth sect also surrounded him. Those from the Tyrants also asked, "How is it?" The Overlord said that there was indeed a second hall inside. I pushed open the Stellar Gate, but after taking 3 steps, I came out. In a daze, I seemed to see a third Stellar Gate. Countless people were shocked. There were many halls in the Nebula Palace, and they didn't know how many were in the end. Seeing that the Overlord's laws had increased so much, the others were also moved. They moved quickly. However, most of these geniuses were rejected at the door. A few entered and could only take a few steps. The Overlord was the only one who entered the first hall. Heavens, it had to be the legendary physique or the Emperor's son who made a move. Countless exclamations were heard. At this moment, another person stood up. There was a terrifying light on his body. There were golden wings on his back. They flapped gently and tore apart the sky. It was him, the number 1 genius of the Tianpeng race. Countless exclamations were heard. This was a figure comparable to the Emperor's son. Could he succeed? Bailey Wuck walked forward. His strength was much stronger than before. Therefore, he easily entered the Nebula Palace. He even opened the first Stellar Gate and entered. Not long after, there was another rumbling sound from inside. He entered the second Stellar Gate. The surrounding people exclaimed. It was too terrifying. As expected of the Tianpeng race, was he even more terrifying than the tyrant body? Would he be able to continue? Everyone exclaimed. However, not long after, Bailey Wuck also came out. He entered the second hall. He stopped inside and did not have the chance to enter the third hall. However, the laws on his body had increased. He was much stronger than the Overlord. Obviously, the deeper he went, the more benefits there were. Everyone looked on enviously. These people's strength had increased. Moreover, it meant that their bloodlines and talents were top-notch. It would not be a problem for them to become peak great saints in the future. One had to know that these were all patriarchs. They were experts who could sweep across the sky. Next, everyone tried again. Most of them failed, but some succeeded. For example, the proud daughter of the Golden Crow race succeeded. She also opened the first hall and received the increase in laws. The other top geniuses of the remote antiquity families and peerless sects were the same. Only the top geniuses could enter the first hall. The others were rejected. There were even fewer people who entered the second hall, except for Bailey Wuk. There was only one person, Yunyu. Although she had submitted to Lin Xian, her original identity was extremely terrifying. She was the #1 genius of the Destiny family. Her reputation was not inferior to Bailey Wuk's. Chapter 5229. Until now, no one had been able to enter the third palace, which made everyone exclaim in surprise. They guessed that only the true Tharch could do it. They all looked at Kuan Pengzi. Because this was the only Tharch that had appeared so far, they wanted to verify it. Kuan Pengzi took a deep breath and stood up, preparing to head forward. Everyone looked at him. Kuan Pengzi, surrounded by the laws of yin and yang, walked forward with large strides. Effortlessly, he entered the Starfall Hall and the first palace hall. Then he entered the second palace. Everyone exclaimed. He was too powerful, as expected of the Tharch. He was so relaxed. One had to know that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for others to enter. Most people couldn't even enter the door of the palace. But the Tharch was strolling casually. The gap was too big. Everyone held their breaths. Could the Tharch go to the third palace? Flawless Bailey, Yunyue, and the others all became nervous. The others were even more focused on them. Kuan Pengzi took a deep breath and stretched out his palms. The laws of yin and yang surrounded them, turning into a Kuan Peng phantom that soared into the sky. He blasted open the third starfall door. He walked in with large strides. Countless people exclaimed in surprise. Heavens, he really went in. The surrounding people went crazy. After entering the third palace, Kuan Pengzi felt an even more mysterious power. However, when he wanted to enter the fourth palace, he was blocked. The fourth starfall door was right in front of him, but he couldn't open it. Helpless, Kuan Pengzi could only sit cross-legged in the third palace and cultivate. In the end, he walked out himself. The others were shocked. The gap was too big. Even Flawless Bailey, Yunyue, and the others could only look up. They were blocked in the second palace, but the other party entered the third palace. They were forced to fight in the second palace, but the other party could cultivate in the third palace. Was this the Tharch? He was above them. It was too shocking. Who else could go? After all, Kuan Pengzi was the only true Tharch that had appeared so far. Of course, there were still a few who had the combat strength of a Tharch. Could those people do it? Gu Feng snorted coldly, and his figure drifted forward. In the blink of an eye, he entered the first level of the Starfall Immortal Palace. Countless people exclaimed in surprise. He was Gu Feng. He was too powerful. In a blink of an eye, Gu Feng entered the second level of the hall. Soon, he also entered the third floor of the palace. He did it. Another person had done it. He wasn't any weaker than the Crown Prince. The corners of the Gu clan's mouths also curled up into a smile. This was great. Gu Feng could be considered the #1 genius of their clan. After practicing the martial monarch's ancient scriptures, he was not any weaker than Kuan Pengzi. This made them happy. However, the fourth spatial gate still blocked him outside. Gu Feng sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. Next, Leaf Dowdenier made his move. He had a holy body and cultivated the great emperor's ancient scripture, so he had also reached the third hall. Cultivating there, everyone was shocked. They looked around. There were not many who could stand shoulder to shoulder with these three people. They looked at Lin Xian. He could definitely do it. Then they looked at the chaos body, Han Tian. This person should be even stronger because he was the double champion. However, they also knew that the real Han Tian hadn't come out yet. This was just a clone, but even so, it should have the battle power of an emperor. They wondered which of the two of them would go up first. Countless people were paying attention. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked at Morong Qingqing and Yan Ryu beside him. He said, "The two of you should give it a try too." The two women walked out, making countless people look up to them. So beautiful. These are two fairies. Can they do it? Soon, they found that not only could the two of them, but they also reached the third floor. Everyone was shocked. They were crown princes. Were all the women around Lin Xian so terrifying? How terrifying would Lin Xian be? At this moment, a black-robed person walked out from the crowd. She stretched out her jade-like arm and walked forward. Her hands danced, tearing apart heaven and earth. In the end, she also arrived at the third hall. Countless people exclaimed, "Who is this?" They had never seen her before. Some people said that she was a genius of the Heavenly Snake clan, Kai Lingyi, who also had the battle power of an emperor. She was really too powerful. The people around were amazed. However, they were even more expectant. Who could reach the fourth floor and surpass everyone? They looked at Lin Xian again. Before Lin Xian could move, another person stood up. It was Han Tian. He took a step forward, and the aura of primal chaos spread in all directions. His speed was even faster, and he arrived at the third hall like lightning. He rushed toward the fourth hall. This time, even Kun Pengzi Yiwudao and the others were nervous. Could this guy do it? Boom! Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the fourth astral door shook violently. The starlight above scattered down on heaven and earth. However, it did not open. Instead, Han Tian was pushed back. Some people sighed. Even he couldn't open it. Some people said that it might not be so. It was just a clone. If his main body came, he should be able to open it. However, it seemed that his clone couldn't. As expected, the fourth astral door was too mysterious. Even the crown prince couldn't open it. Gu Feng snorted coldly. Your main body might be able to open it, but you want to open it with a clone? Stop dreaming. Kun Pengzi also shook his head. I don't believe that your clone is stronger than the crown prince. That was indeed the case. So what if the other party was the double crown prince? The other party's clone couldn't surpass the crown prince. Damn it! Han Tian shouted angrily. He returned to the third hall and said coldly, "Since my clone can't open it, no one can." His voice was extremely confident. The others were shocked. Was there really no one who could open the fourth astral door? They were desperate. Next, some people tried again, but many people couldn't even open the first astral door. Not to mention the fourth astral door. Do you think Lin Wudi can do it? I think it's possible. Many people were looking forward to it. Some people said that it was impossible. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, he was still stronger than the crown prince. However, they didn't think it was possible for him to surpass the crown prince. At most, he would stop in front of the fourth astral door. Many people were discussing. At this moment, a person walked out. He narrowed his eyes and said, "A bunch of ants, let me open the astral door." It was a light-shaking realm cultivator. Countless people exclaimed. Some people who knew the other party's background frowned. This person was very dangerous, but they didn't know what level the other party had reached. Perhaps this time, they could deduce the other party's cultivation and strength. They were all watching nervously. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. "Yao Guang, let me see how far you've cultivated the heaven-devouring demonic skill." Chapter 5230. Yao Guang's speed was also very fast. He arrived at the third palace and looked at the astral door in front of him. With an angry roar, endless vortexes appeared on his body. One after another, terrifying blood-colored auras filled the air. Boom! With a punch, the sky shook and the earth shook. Everyone felt their blood boil. This punch was too terrifying. What kind of fist technique was this? However, the Overlord's expression changed. Tyrant Azure Fist. Damn it, how do you know such a thing? The others gasped. What? Tyrant Azure Fist. Wasn't this the fist technique of the Overlord clan? How did this guy know it? Many top geniuses' expressions became incomparably solemn. Did he devour someone from the Overlord clan? And he wasn't an ordinary person. The overlord's expression was even more unsightly. The tyrant azure fist was incomparably terrifying. In the hands of Yao Guang, it was also incomparably terrifying. The astral door shook, and the starlight on it dimmed. Boom! He threw 9 punches in a row. The tyrant azure fist was incomparably terrifying, and a crack appeared on the astral door. Everyone was stunned. Could it be that this guy was really going to go in? However, the moment the door opened, the aura inside was incomparably terrifying. It made everyone's hair stand on end. Yao Guang naturally felt it too. He took a step back. In the next moment, an extremely terrifying light soared from his body. He turned into a phantom and charged forward like a giant. Boom! With a punch, it was as if a god had descended. It was incomparably terrifying. What kind of fist technique was this? This was no longer the tyrant azure fist. Countless people cried out in alarm. Yi Wudao's expression became ugly. He suddenly stood up, and a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Behind him, the phantom of an immortal king roared towards the sky. Everyone was stunned. Why was it so similar to the one behind Yao Guang? Heavens, this is the Yi clan's bloodline, right? How did he know it? Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. Had this fellow devoured even the cultivators of the Yi clan? The others were even more surprised. Yi Wudao's expression became ugly. He said that 2 sage lords of the Yi clan had mysteriously disappeared. Could it be that they had been assassinated by this guy? Damn it. The other experts' scalps went numb. This Yao Guang was too terrifying. He would definitely be a peerless enemy in the future. Yao Guang's lips curled into a confident smile. He unleashed the power of the Yi clan's bloodline and moved quickly. Once again, he opened the stargate in front of him. A ray of multicolored light flew out from within, enveloping heaven and earth. Heavens, he really opened it. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. At this moment, even the expressions of Kunping Zi, Gufeng, and the others turned serious. Han Tian snorted coldly. This guy had actually devoured so many experts. Humph, but he's still a dark one. He can't come out in the open. If my true body was here, I could easily suppress him. Han Tian's eyes shone with a cold light. However, the others didn't think so. After all, Han Tian was the double champion. He had the right to be arrogant, but the others didn't. Even people as strong as Kunping Zi and the others had ugly expressions. What they couldn't do, Yao Guang had done. Could it be that the other party had already surpassed them? The 4th starry gate was opened. The supreme aura inside was even more terrifying. Yao Guang was overjoyed. If he could enter, then he would obtain even more fortunes. Thinking of this, he walked forward. However, just as he lifted his foot, the smile on his face froze because he couldn't get close at all. Damn it, what's going on? He roared crazily. The others were also stunned. What had happened? Soon, they found that Yao Guang couldn't enter. Although the 4th starry gate was open, he couldn't enter. This scene was incomparably strange. It was as if there was an invisible hand blocking Yao Guang. No, damn it! Yao Guang roared crazily and used all kinds of supreme techniques. They were all top-tier supreme techniques. Some of them were bloodline supreme techniques that he had devoured experts to form. Some were supreme techniques that he had obtained from the Purple Palace realm. These were all supreme techniques of other clans and sections. At this moment, they were all used by Yao Guang alone. It was so shocking that the other experts were terrified. Yao Guang seemed to know everything they knew. This person was too terrifying. However, even so, Yao Guang couldn't take a step forward. In the end, he could only stand there and look at the 4th starry gate. He roared crazily. Damn it! Not enough! I'm not strong enough! He suddenly turned around, and an extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. It seemed to have turned into 2 black vortexes that enveloped the world. At this moment, the sky around the starry gate darkened. Many people felt their hair stand on end. Yao Guang stared at Kunpengzi, Han Tian, Yi Wudao, and the others. After I devour you, I can enter the fourth starry gate. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Yi Wudao, Kunpengzi, and the others' faces were completely gloomy. Damn it, this guy wants to devour us? What a joke. You can try. Yi Wudao took a step forward, and the phantom of a nine heavens immortal king roared at the sky. Kunpengzi snorted coldly. The yin and yang laws behind him were incomparably mysterious. Han Tian was even more furious. Who do you think you are? You dare to devour me? My main body will come and suppress you with one hand. Just you wait. One day, you will all be devoured by me. Yao Guang sneered and sat cross-legged in front of the starry gate, beginning to absorb it. Seeing him cultivate, everyone's heart sank. Murong Qingqing and the others also had cold expressions. It seemed that they had to think of a way to get rid of this guy. Otherwise, these top geniuses would be in danger in the future. Finally, Yao Guang also came out. The laws on his body had a mysterious aura, and it seemed to have improved a lot. The surrounding people retreated one after another. Yi Wudao, Kunpengzi, and the others felt their hair stand on end. Han Tian narrowed his eyes and sneered. You cultivate the demonic, heaven-devouring art, right? This cultivation technique has been a taboo martial art for hundreds of thousands of years. No one is allowed to cultivate it. But you dare to cultivate it? Why don't you cripple your own martial arts? He shouted coldly, and the others' bodies shook. What was the demonic, heaven-devouring art? A taboo martial art? Was it terrifying? Kunpengzi said coldly. The demonic, heaven-devouring art specialized in devouring the bloodlines of other top geniuses and experts, and turning them into his own. It could be said that it was an extremely terrifying martial art created by the heaven-devouring Great Emperor. Back then, the heaven-devouring Great Emperor had fought against everyone in the world alone, and he had killed his way out. However, this cultivation technique was later sealed by everyone because it was too terrifying. He would step on the corpses of countless experts and geniuses to reach the peak. No one has cultivated it for hundreds of thousands of years. I didn't expect you to dare to cultivate it. When these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. It was such a terrifying cultivation technique. No wonder the other party knew the tyrant's martial arts and had a similar bloodline to the Yi family. He must have devoured the experts of the two great families. As expected, the tyrant snorted coldly. How dare you attack the tyrants? Yi Wudao snorted coldly. Cripple your own martial arts. Gu Feng, Bailey Wuk, and the others walked up one after another, targeting Yao Guang. They had no choice. The cultivation technique that the other party cultivated was a threat to all of them. Who knew when the other party would kill them? Even if they could avoid it, could their clans do the same? Chapter 5231. The surrounding people were also in an uproar. Even the two elders of the Starfall Immortal platform frowned. They naturally knew about the demonic, heaven-devouring art. They didn't expect this person to cultivate such a cultivation technique. They didn't stop him, but they didn't attack. Instead, they watched coldly. What, you want to attack me? Yao Guang sneered. At this moment, Kunpengzi suddenly attacked. Yi Wudao also attacked. Even Han Tian used a terrifying divine ability. They all attacked Yao Guang. Everyone knew that Yao Guang was done for. No matter how terrifying his opponent was, he couldn't stop so many imperial princes. Yao Guang's body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was high in the sky. It looked down and laughed coldly. You can't kill me with just your strength. Gu Feng's pupils constricted. Spatial divine ability. You even swallowed my Gu clan's people? His expression became ugly. Haha, that's right. Yao Guang laughed. That's why I dared to come out. Now that I've mastered spatial divine abilities and my bloodline isn't weak, It's impossible for you to kill me. If I want to leave, no one can stop me." Many people despaired. With such a powerful enemy, no one would be able to subdue him in the future. Gu Feng stood high in the sky. Suddenly, he looked at Lin Xian and sneered. "You're not going to attack?" He found that Lin Xian was just standing there and didn't seem to attack him. Lin Xian stood up and said, "Don't worry. Wait until I enter the fourth astral door. It won't be too late to attack you then." "With just you?" Gu Feng was stunned. Then he sneered. "No one can enter the fourth astral door. Even I can't do it, let alone you. Unless this guy's main body came, but it would be too late." Han Tian snorted. Although he was angry, he had to admit that the other party was right. No one could enter the fourth astral door. "You can't do it, but that doesn't mean I can't." Lin Xian's expression was calm as he walked forward. The surrounding people also stopped and didn't attack. They also wanted to see where Lin Xian's confidence came from. Lin Xian leisurely strolled into the first palace and soon arrived at the third palace. He walked forward. The fourth starry gate in front of him had already closed, emitting a mysterious and unfathomable aura. Everyone became nervous. Could this guy do it? To be honest, they were also nervous. After all, Yao Guang was the only one who had done it so far. Furthermore, the light-shaking realm had only been able to do so after devouring countless experts and even the bloodlines of emperor bloodlines. It could be said that just from this point alone, he was already much stronger than Kun Peng Zi and the others. Although Lin Xian cultivated the Imperial Sutra, could he really open the fourth stellar gate? Lin Xian arrived in front of the fourth astral gate. He could feel a mysterious power. In the next moment, he punched out with the 6 Dao fists, and a terrifying aura blasted forward. He pressed forward courageously, causing the starry gate to shake. The light on the gate of stars dimmed, but it did not crack. Lin Xian didn't care. He pushed his divine body to its limits, and the terrifying flames on it soared into the sky. The 9-yang divine palm slapped forward, pushing forward. At this moment, the entire Nebula Palace shook violently. Boom! 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 Countless explosions rang out, and the fourth stellar gate was slowly opened. Everyone exclaimed, "Too strong!" Was the 9-yang divine body already so strong? Yi Wu Dao and the others were also shocked. He was extremely surprised by Brother Lin's physique. The Golden Crow race was even more terrified. They could feel the powerful sun energy on the divine body. There were also some light purple flames. Those flames made them extremely terrified. Lin Xian's 9-yang divine body had fused with the purple yang divine fire, so it had become abnormally terrifying. He only used the power of his physique to open the fourth stellar gate. He really did it. Kun Peng Zi and the others were shocked. Yao Guang's face turned ugly. He said that no one could do it, but now Lin Xian did it. Han Tian furrowed his brows. Did another person do it? It seemed like he had underestimated the other party. He didn't expect such an interesting person to appear. 9-yang divine body and heaven devouring demonic art. These two people were worthy of his main body making a move. Yao Guang snorted coldly. "So what if you open it? At most, you will be on par with me. You won't be able to enter." The others were also nervous. Murong Qingqing and the others were pale. Yes, opening it didn't mean that they could enter. When they opened it, they felt an incomparably terrifying aura. Even the 2 elders of the Nebula Immortal platform were excited. They looked forward and said loudly, if they could enter the fourth stellar gate, then they would have a chance to enter the Emperor realm. When these words were said, countless people were in an uproar. Enter the Emperor realm. Could it be that they would become an Emperor realm? Heavens, the fourth stellar gate was so important. The elder of the Starfall Immortal platform said that there was such a possibility, but it didn't mean that they would really become an Emperor realm. Although that was the case, it was already very shocking because the others didn't even have a chance. Kun Peng Zi and the others were gritting their teeth. Didn't this mean that he couldn't become an emperor realm? Damn it, was his limit only the peak of the great saint realm? He wasn't willing. Gu Feng and the others also had ugly expressions. Han Tian snorted coldly. If my main body was here, I would definitely be able to enter the fourth stellar gate and obtain a chance. Yao Guang's expression was even more serious. My strength isn't enough. I need to devour a few thearchs. This way, I can enter the fourth stellar gate. Then he looked at Lin Xian. Could that kid do it? Although he didn't believe it, he still had to pay attention. At this moment, everyone was paying attention to Lin Xian. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. If he walked forward, he would have a chance to become an Emperor Realm expert. Although it was only a chance, Lin Xian wouldn't miss it. The 9 yang divine flames on his body became even more terrifying. 6 suns and even the yin-yang taiji diagram appeared and revolved in front of him. Lin Xian walked forward. In the next moment, he felt a huge pressure. It was as if a pair of invisible hands had stopped him. Now he finally understood why Yao Guang was so angry. The reason for that was because there was indeed a mysterious power stopping him. He shouted coldly, and an extremely terrifying killing intent erupted from his eyes. Kill! With an angry shout, the demonic aura on his body surged into the sky. He seemed to have transformed into a demon god, incomparably powerful. Boom, boom! An earth-shaking sound rang out, as if 2 heavenly gods were fighting. The invisible power was bombarded by Lin Xian, emitting tens of thousands of thunderbolts. At this moment, everyone became nervous. Yao Guang was even more nervous. Previously, he couldn't achieve this effect. But this kid could. Damn it, was the other party stronger than him? But so what if he was stronger? He didn't believe that the other party had the possibility of becoming an Emperor Realm expert. Lin Xian could feel that the demonic aura on his body was being suppressed. He shouted angrily, and all kinds of ultimate techniques and laws appeared one after another. Lin Xian forcefully tore open a path. At the same time, an extremely terrifying light erupted from his eyes. No one can stop me from walking the path I want to walk. Heaven's splitting sword, the sword chi on his body, slashed forward. Chapter 5232. The sword was so sharp that it split the heavens and earth. The formless hands in front of him were also torn apart. Lin Xian took a step forward. He entered the fourth palace. Heavens, he did it. He really did it. Countless cries of surprise rang out. Everyone went crazy at this moment. Impossible! Gu Feng roared crazily. Kuan Peng Zi's expression turned ugly. Yao Guang's eyes were filled with killing intent. How was this possible? He actually went in. Could it be that he really had a chance to become a great emperor? Damn it, his talent was too good. The people of the Purple Mansion roared crazily. No, he was from the Immortal Graveyard. How could he do this? That's great. Murong Qingqing was overjoyed. Yanryu also heaved a sigh of relief. Fire Dragon Lady and the others were even more excited. They had always supported Lin Xian, all because Lin Xian had a chance to become a great emperor. Now, Lin Xian finally showed such talent. He had entered the fourth starry door and had a chance to become a great emperor. Did he really succeed? Even the 2 elders on the Nebula Immortal Plateau were stunned. To be honest, they didn't believe that anyone could succeed. After all, the possibility of becoming a great emperor was already very heaven-defying. Many ancestors and peak great saints had lived for thousands of years, but they didn't have such a chance. Now, it had happened to a young man. They stared at Lin Xian nonstop. When Lin Xian entered the fourth palace, he also felt a mysterious aura. The great Tao around him kept tumbling. It was so magical. Lin Xian looked around curiously. At this moment, he realized that the front seemed to have turned into a starry sky. This was no longer a palace. It had turned into a galaxy of stars. Lin Xian stood in the universe. This feeling was too magical. Lin Xian continued to walk forward. However, the further he walked, the greater the pressure he felt. In the end, his sword energy was shattered. The laws on his body also cracked. He retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, at this moment, a demonic shadow formed behind him. The demonic figure stood there quietly, holding the world in place. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief as the pressure around him lessened. He walked forward for a while, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Countless people were waiting. Among them, the imperial princes were still in shock. They were all young giants. Even if there was a gap between them, it wouldn't be too big. Even someone as powerful as a light-shaking realm cultivator hadn't been able to enter the fourth layer, but someone had actually managed to do so. Lin Xian, Invincible Lin. Many people were worried, and some of them even had killing intent in their eyes. When he came out, it seemed like someone wanted to make a move. Lin Xian sat there cross-legged. The laws on his body became incomparably mysterious. He was cultivating. At the same time, he opened the sword world. The stars here were so mysterious, they could provide the sword world with the power of the stars. After he opened it, the sword world began to absorb endless starlight, turning into a river of stars that spiraled in the sky. However, the power absorbed by the sword world was truly too much. In the end, the fourth palace was filled with tumbling nebulas. Even the entire nebula palace was shaking violently. The people outside were still waiting. When Lin Xian came out, someone wanted to make a move. Suddenly, the nebula palace in front of them shook violently. A terrifying light erupted, and a terrifying aura swept through the world. Many people were sent flying, vomiting blood. What was going on? The others also reacted and retreated one after another. It was as if they were facing a great enemy. They looked forward. The two elders of the Nebula Immortal Plateau were also stunned. What happened? They had never encountered such a change before. Damn it, what did that brat do inside? I don't know. Quickly, report to our palace master. The two elders quickly transmitted their voices. Not long after, the void split open, and a few figures walked out. Their auras were even more powerful. There were even peak great sages coming. After these people arrived, their pupils shrank. What was going on in the Nebula Palace? Reporting to the Palace Master, we don't know. The Palace Master of the Starfall Immortal Plateau was an extremely terrifying existence. His eyes erupted with a sharp starlight as he stared at the Starfall Immortal Palace. His gaze pierced through the universe, wanting to see the situation inside. However, he found a demonic figure standing there. It suddenly turned around and shattered his gaze. He closed his eyes and took a few steps back. His expression became extremely ugly. There were even tears of blood flowing from his eyes. Palace Master, what happened to you? The surrounding elders were incomparably nervous. Even their Palace Master was injured. The others were in an uproar. Someone said that an accident had happened in the Starfall Palace. That Lin Xian wouldn't die in there, right? It was very likely. When these words came out, many people's eyes lit up. Gu Feng sneered. It would be best if he died in there. Yao Guang's eyes flickered. The other party was dead. He must get the other party's corpse and devour Lin Wudi. He might become a double champion. When that time came, who would be able to defeat him? Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu were nervous. They came to the front and said, "Greetings, seniors. Is Brother Xian still inside? Is he in danger? What happened in the Starfall Palace? Please help." Nebula Palace Master still had his eyes closed. He said, "Is the person inside your friend?" Murong Qingqing nodded. That's right. He had already entered the fourth palace, but they didn't expect such a change. What? The fourth palace? The new elders were also shocked. Didn't that mean that the kid had the possibility of becoming a great emperor? Who was he? His name was Lin Xian Lin Wudi. Yan Ryu said, Lin Wudi and the other elders' eyes flickered. Nebula Palace Master was also surprised. I have information on him. He is an incredible person, but he is from the Immortal Graveyard. How could he come here? And he has the possibility of becoming a great emperor. It shouldn't be. People from the Immortal Graveyard couldn't even become saints. They couldn't cultivate. How could he have the qualifications to become a great emperor? But the other party had reached the fourth palace. This miraculous change caused these top experts to be stunned for a moment. Senior, is Brother Xian in danger? Murong Qingqing was nervous. She couldn't help but want to go in. Nebula Palace Master said, "Don't act rashly, although I don't know why the change happened. But I just used my great divine ability to take a look. There's indeed someone sitting there cultivating. He doesn't seem to have died." "Didn't die? Really? That's great." Murong Qingqing heaved a sigh of relief. Even a peak great sage said so. Then it must be like this. Thank you, Senior. They just needed to wait patiently. When the others heard this, they were extremely disappointed. Didn't die? Then they would kill the other party with their own hands. They were still waiting here. Gu Feng, Yao Guang, and the others were ready to kill. Some experts of the Twin Destiny Clan and the Dragon Clan were also waiting secretly. They wouldn't allow the other party to continue growing. Chapter 5233. Everyone was waiting for Lin Xian to appear, but they didn't know that something even more shocking was yet to come. Lin Xian activated Sword World and absorbed the star energy in Starfall Hall, causing a mysterious light to appear in the sky of Sword World. However, the amount of energy required by Sword World was too much. Even the fallen Star Hall was unable to endure the enormous devouring and absorption. It shook violently. At the next moment, a low voice rang out. It was like a clap of thunder, shaking everyone's soul. Then, a blurry figure appeared in Starcloud Hall. This figure was abnormally hazy and illusory, but it was incomparably terrifying. It was like a god looking down on the common people. Some people were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They couldn't help but want to kneel down. What was this? Many people were terrified. Overlord roared towards the sky. Bailey Wuck gritted his teeth. Kunping Zi exclaimed, "Why do I feel a trace of the great emperor's aura?" At this moment, everyone was stunned. What did Lin Xian do inside? Why did it cause such a terrifying change? The people of Starfall Immortal Hall were also stunned. What was going on? The Hall Master's pupils shrank. Could it be that this was the Ancestor's illusion? Heavens! Those elders also exclaimed. He could actually summon the illusion of the Ancestor of Starfall Immortal Hall. Starfall Hall was a supreme treasure of their immortal foundation. It was extremely mysterious and was built by their ancestor. And their ancestor was someone from the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. The Yuhua Immortal Dynasty back then wasn't something that could be compared to now. It was someone who stood at the peak of the universe. How terrifying was that kind of person? Later on, the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty was destroyed and sealed. Many immortal foundations were formed. Their Starfall Immortal Foundation was one of them. They had always been in control of Starfall Hall. Legend had it that the Starfall Hall contained the secret left behind by their ancestor. However, only those who could summon the ancestor's illusion would be able to obtain the supreme secret. They had been trying for tens of thousands of years, but no one had ever succeeded. This made them think that the legend was fake. But now, someone actually summoned the ancestor's illusion, and it was an outsider. This was too inconceivable. Could it be that this Lin Xian had such an inconceivable fate with their Starfall Immortal Foundation? Inside the Fallen Star Hall, Lin Xian was also stunned. The sudden appearance of a figure made him feel as if he was facing a great enemy. He quickly closed the world, but the hazy star figure stared fixedly at the Sword World, as if it wanted to enter. However, he did not dare to do so. In the end, sighed. That hazy figure slowly disappeared. However, a ring fell from the sky. It was the star ring. It was incomparably deep, as if it had merged with an entire universe. It floated in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian was surprised. He used his soul spirit to examine it carefully and found that there was no danger. He then took it. What exactly happened? Lin Xian didn't understand. However, when he received the star ring, he felt a mysterious aura being emitted from the ring. He seemed to be able to absorb it. It was too mystical. This star ring was equivalent to fusing with the power of the Starfall Hall. In the next moment, Lin Xian felt a pair of invisible hands pushing him away. He knew that he must have used the sword world to absorb too much power, causing a change in the Starfall Hall. In order to protect himself, the Starfall Hall did not allow him to stay here. He bowed deeply toward the void, expressing his thanks. Then he turned around and left. When the people outside saw Lin Xian come out, they cried out in alarm. Was he going to make a move? Their eyes flickered. Gu Feng, Yao Guang, and the others prepared to make a move. At this moment, the people from the Starfall Immortal platform walked up. The one leading them was the Hall Master. The group of them walked forward. Everyone was surprised. Even the Starfall Immortal platform was going to make a move? Many people sneered. They could kill with a borrowed knife. Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu were nervous. They hurriedly came to Lin Xian's side. The Starfall Hall Master said, "Young Master, don't be nervous. We have no ill intentions. Young Master, have you seen our old ancestor? Does young Master have some sort of relationship with our Starfall Hall?" Voices sounded one after another. Lin Xian was puzzled. Old ancestor? Could it be that hazy figure? Thinking of this, he said, "I've obtained a ring." When they saw the stellar ring, the surrounding elders all trembled. The vast aura of stars on it was definitely an item from their Starfall Immortal platform. It was very likely that it was left behind by their old ancestor. Thinking of this, an elder instantly stretched out his hand and grabbed forward. This sudden change caused everyone to cry out in alarm. Lin Xian also frowned. The heavenly hand grabbed the stellar ring. However, in the next moment, a miserable scream was heard. The large hand was broken apart and blood dripped down. The stellar ring spun and flew back to Lin Xian's side. What was going on? The elder who made a move was dumbfounded. The Starfall Hall Master shouted in a low voice, "You were too reckless. Who told you to make a move?" Quickly apologized to Lin Gongzi. That elder recovered his arm and lowered his head. "Lin Gongzi, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made a move." The Starfall Hall Master also said, "Lin Gongzi, please don't be offended." They were too agitated. Lin Xian was also stunned. After that he smiled. It seemed that this stellar ring was specially made for him. He took it and wore it on his right thumb. After that he smiled and said, "It's fine. Was that star, Phantasm, your ancestor? He was the one who gave this ring to me." "Do you need me to return it to you?" The Starfall Hall Master hurriedly shook his head. "There was no need. Since you have obtained the recognition of our old ancestor, we naturally wouldn't dare to be impudent. From today onwards, you are the young master of our Starfall Immortal platform." When these words came out, Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu were stunned. Even Lin Xian was stunned. It seemed that he had underestimated the use of this stellar ring. The other elders were also stunned and wanted to say something. However, the Starfall Hall Master said in a clear voice, "In the future, when you see Lin Gongzi, it's the same as seeing me. If anyone dares to disrespect him, don't blame the Starfall Immortal platform for punishing them according to the sect's rules." Yes, although those elders were puzzled, they didn't dare to disobey the orders of the Starfall Hall Master. The surrounding people were in an uproar. What was the meaning of this? How did Lin Xian become the young master of the Starfall Immortal platform in the blink of an eye? Wasn't this change too great? Some people were gritting their teeth. However, the Starfall Hall Master coldly said, Whoever dares to make a move against Lin Gongzi will be making an enemy of our Starfall Immortal platform. When these words came out, the scalps of the surrounding people turned numb. Although they were powerful, the Starfall Immortal platform was even more terrifying. Furthermore, this was their territory. For a period of time, no one dared to make a move. The Starfall Hall Master looked at Lin Xian and asked, "Young Master, can you return with us?" "We will definitely treat young Master well." Lin Xian replied, "I still have some things to do. Let's do it another day." He also didn't know what the Starfall Hall Master was planning. Hence, he wasn't willing to go there easily. The Starfall Hall Master also didn't mind. "All right then. Lin Gongzi, you go ahead and do your things. If you need anything, feel free to come to the Starfall Immortal platform. Remember, you are our young master." Chapter 5234. Next, the Falling Star Hall Master sent a few elders to escort Lin Xian and the others back. In addition to the previous warning, no one dared to make a move. However, this matter did spread out, because it was too unbelievable. In an instant, the entire Yuhua ancient city knew about it. Everyone was talking about it. On the other side, the elders of the Falling Star Immortal platform were also confused. Why does the Hall Master respect that kid? Is he really that powerful? That's right, he's just a young man. No matter how powerful he is, can he overturn the heavens? That ring was left behind by our ancestor. We must take it back. However, the Falling Star Hall Master said, "Shut up. What do you know? When the star ring appeared, I used my bloodline to communicate with it. I even took out the Hall Master's token. However, I couldn't get his approval. However, that Lin Xian got his approval. What does this mean? This means that our ancestor trusted him and didn't trust us. Get this straight. That's our ancestor, but he trusted an outsider. This means that Lin Xian must have some secrets. Therefore, we must respect him. The person that our ancestor trusted will never be wrong. Moreover, didn't he enter the 4th floor of the Falling Star Hall? That's the qualification to become a great emperor. In the future, he might really become a great emperor." Hearing this, the surrounding elders were also shocked. Although they were the descendants of the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty, in this era, a great emperor was a great emperor. A great emperor was too heaven-defying. It was enough for them to reach new heights. "Your Highness, don't worry. We'll treat him with respect in the future." The Falling Star Immortal platform was prepared to respect Lin Xian. However, the other immortal platforms were in an uproar. They didn't understand why the Falling Star Immortal platform had such an attitude. They investigated in many ways but couldn't find anything. Even the 9-star Immortal platforms were stunned. They asked Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled but didn't say anything. They could only treat him well. In the quiet courtyard, Lin Xian sat by the lake. He looked at the star ring in his hand and narrowed his eyes. The mysterious star ring and the strange attitude of the Falling Star Immortal platform made him confused. He had carefully inspected it and had also asked the Hellfire Dragon to inspect the ring. There shouldn't be any hidden danger. She just wanted to stay by his side. This made him very suspicious. After thinking about it, he felt that it was most likely related to the Sword World. After all, the Hellfire Dragon was so arrogant before. However, after seeing the Sword World, he was unwilling to leave. This showed that this world was incomparably mystical. It was very likely that it would completely exceed Lin Xian's imagination. As for the astral ancestor, perhaps he also knew how terrifying this world was. However, he had already fallen and was unable to enter the Sword World. He could only leave the keepsake ring by Lin Xian's side. Perhaps he wanted Lin Xian to take care of the Starfall Immortal platform. Since that was the case, Lin Xian accepted it without hesitation. In any case, the Divine Union really needed other allies. It would be best if they could form an alliance with the Fallen Star Immortal platform. He could borrow the power of the Starfall Immortal platform to search for opportunities in the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. In the future, once he truly became an immortal emperor, he would help the Starfall Immortal Foundation stand at the peak. Therefore, Lin Xian did not hesitate. After forming a seal with his palms, Lin Xian continued to cultivate. Previously, he felt that his nomological laws had improved a lot from the 4th level. At this moment, he wanted to consolidate his comprehension of the Great Tao, although ordinary geniuses were no match for him now. Even the Emperor's son was no match for him. However, Lin Xian knew that he could not be careless. The 2 newcomers, one of them a light-shaking realm cultivator, shocked him. The other party's demonic, heaven-devouring technique was improving every moment. If the other party swallowed a few more geniuses, he might surpass him. The other one, who shocked him even more, was Han Tian. The double champion had appeared. If the other party's original body came, how terrifying would it be? Lin Xian began to cultivate with all his might. His strength was also increasing steadily. In fact, it was not only him. After returning from the Starfall Hall, the young powerhouses and supreme beings all began to cultivate in seclusion. Their strength had also increased greatly compared to before they had come. At the same time, another matter spread. It was about Lin Xian. Previously, the Starfall Hall could test the qualifications to become a great emperor. In other words, reaching the 4th level meant that one had the qualifications to become a great emperor. Although it was only a slight possibility, it was much more powerful than nothing. No one had been able to reach the 4th level for tens of thousands of years. But now someone had done it. A light-shaking realm cultivator had opened the 4th astral door, which was shocking. More importantly, Lin Xian had really reached the 4th level, which shocked countless people. This guy had the qualifications to become a great emperor. At the same time, a list quickly spread in the ancient city. Yan Ryu frowned and came to the courtyard with a scroll. She said no. Lin Xian turned around and said, "What's the matter?" Yan Ryu walked over and opened the scroll. "Take a look." On the other side, Morong Qingqing also came and asked curiously, "What is this?" She realized that there was a multicolored light dancing on the scroll. Lin Xian's name was written in flamboyant handwriting. Moreover, only Lin Xian's name was written on it. "Brother Xian, only him? What's this?" Yan Ryu said, "Young sovereign ranking." Young sovereign? Lin Xian frowned. The Dragon Prince had held such a thing before. However, Yan Ryu had said that the Dragon Prince from before had only formed a battle in his own name, and he had lost in the end. But it was different now. This ranking had spread throughout the entire Yuhua ancient city, and it was created by the people of the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. And it was recorded in history. This was not the first time it had existed. It had existed tens of thousands of years ago. There were even young great emperors who had entered the young sovereign ranking. For example, the Azure Emperor and the Battle Emperor. Your ancestor, Lin Xian, was shocked. Yan Ryu nodded. That's right. My ancestor, the Azure Emperor, had also been here, and he had entered the Starfall Hall. He had even reached the 4th level and entered the young sovereign ranking. Later, he really became a great emperor. However, there were very few people who could enter the young sovereign ranking. Now, the young sovereign ranking was opened, and only your name was on it. What about the others? For example, what about Yao Guang, Han Tian, or Kuan Pingzi? Lin Xian asked. These people were not weak. They were all emperor-level figures. Yan Ryu said that on another ranking list, they were known as the Young Tycoons. There was a huge difference between giants and sovereigns. In other words, this ranking showed that Lin Xian was currently above all the geniuses. He could be said to be the number 1 genius. After Morong Qingqing heard this, he frowned. This was not good. Didn't this make Brother Xian the enemy of everyone? Who was it that was so vicious? Yan Ryu sighed. It was indeed not good. That was because there were too many old enemies on this list. From now on, all the young geniuses would treat Lin Xian as an enemy. They would even use all kinds of methods to achieve their goal. Lin Xian was in danger. Chapter 5235. Although Lin Xian had entered the 4th level, it didn't mean that the others didn't have the qualifications. For example, the Double Crown King's main body wasn't here. If his main body was here, there was a high chance that he could enter the 4th level. There was also the Light Shaking Realm, who opened the door to the 4th level. Although he didn't enter the 4th level, as long as he swallowed a few more people, he could definitely enter. These people also had the qualifications to become Grand Elders, but none of them were on the sovereign list. It was obvious that someone didn't want them to go up. Someone was probably targeting Lin Xian. Lin Xian naturally understood this as well. He smirked coldly. Making an enemy of the entire world? What a good method. It was probably those people who did it. He guessed that it was either the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty, the Gu Clan, or the Light Shaking Realm. It was even very likely that it was Yao Guang. After all, Yao Guang had displayed the demonic, heaven-devouring art that was truly becoming enemies with the world. But now, all the spearheads were pointing at him. Basically, no one cared about Yao Guang. What about Big Brother Xian? Should I clarify? It's very dangerous now. After all, there were too many geniuses in the ancient city. If a few of them worked together, Lin Xian would really be in danger. No need. Sovereign is a sovereign. Why should I be afraid? I really want the title of the #1 genius of the younger generation. So what if I become enemies with the world? Lin Xian's eyes burst with a shocking light. Right, there was one more thing. Yanryu said that the deity hall was also here. Lin Xian was also happy after hearing this. Is that so? I haven't seen them in a long time. I'll find a chance to see them. Lin Xian decided to finish cultivating first, and then go to the deity hall to take a look. The deity hall was left to him by old Xia. He didn't know if old Xia had returned. Lin Xian and Xia Jiao went to the underworld. In the end, Xia Jiao left alone, and his whereabouts were unknown. While Lin Xian was cultivating, on the other side, the clear wood immortal platform was also one of the immortal platforms in the ancient city. It belonged to the people of the Yuhua immortal dynasty. On a cliff of the clear, cleansing immortal platform, the scenery was beautiful. It had grown for thousands of years. There were 2 figures sitting on the stone platform in front of him. One of them was dressed in a green robe and had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He leaned against a pine tree as if he was an old man who had ascended to immortality. The other person's aura was hazy and mysterious. He was none other than Han Tian. Han Tian looked at the old man in front of him and said, "Senior Qing Mu, try the tea I brought back. This tea is carefully cultivated by the Handan tribe and contains an extremely strong Handan qi. It was extremely useful for one's comprehension of the Great Path. In front of Han Tian, there was an exquisite box with a few tea leaves in it. As expected, they were surrounded by a chaotic aura. They formed mysterious runes. At this moment, another woman walked over from afar. She was dressed in green and had an extremely beautiful appearance. She walked over slowly with a teapot in her hand and placed the chaos leaf inside. Instantly, a terrifying aura of primal chaos shot into the sky. The azure-robed woman was shocked. Ancestor Qing Mu's eyes were also shining. Previously, he had only heard rumors that the Epiphany leaf contained a mysterious Great Tao. Obtaining one would allow one to comprehend the Great Tao. It was just that he was too mysterious, so he couldn't meet him. But now that I've seen this primal chaos leaf, I've gained a deep understanding of it. Even if it's not as good as the Epiphany leaf, it's not too far off. Hearing this, the corners of Han Tian's mouth curled up. Grandpa Qing Mu, you're flattering me. It's far from being as good as the Epiphany leaf. Although he said that, his eyes were filled with pride. Ancestor Qing Mu picked up the teacup and took a sip. The laws around him danced. He nodded. Good tea. Han Tian smiled. If Grandpa Qing Mu likes it, I'll bring more in the future. Ancestor Qing Mu said, This gift is too valuable. I'm afraid I can't accept it. Han Tian said, Grandpa Qing Mu, you're too humble. You're standing at the peak of the Supreme Sage Realm and are only one step away from the Divine Emperor Realm. If you can't accept it, who can? Ancestor Qing Mu shook his head. I'm old and there's no hope. My hope is still on you young people. Nephew, you've reached the double crown at such a young age. Such talent is rare. There's a great chance for you to reach the Divine Emperor Realm in the future. Even if you meet those princes, you'll probably be able to suppress them. Han Tian's eyes lit up. He said, Although those princes have shocking bloodlines, they haven't experienced any hardships. They're usually protected too well. When they encounter a real battle of life and death, they won't be able to do anything. For example, the Dragon Prince. No matter how heaven-defying his bloodline is, he was still killed in the end. The Kuin Peng, Purple Qilin, and the Phoenix Girl also have shocking bloodlines. However, I don't think they'll be able to reach the Divine Emperor Realm in the future. At this moment, the woman who was brewing tea nodded and said, Grandpa Qing Mu, you're right. I heard that recently a terrifying guy has appeared. He cultivates the demonic, sky-devouring technique. He has devoured many geniuses and even knows the bloodlines and divine abilities of some monarch clans. This person is very dangerous. As soon as he said that, even Ancestor Qing Mu's eyes flashed with a cold light. The demonic, sky-devouring technique was a divine emperor's divine ability. Moreover, it was sealed as a forbidden martial art more than 100,000 years ago. No one was allowed to cultivate it. I didn't expect that someone would take the risk. Isn't he afraid of becoming enemies with the world? The demonic sky-devouring technique is strong, but it's an evil technique after all. It's hard to reach the peak, even if you devour it. Han Tian snorted coldly. Compared to the demonic sky-devouring technique, I'm more concerned about another person. As he said that, a fierce look appeared in his eyes. Oh, who is it? The woman and the old man were surprised at the same time. Han Tian said, Of course, he was referring to Lin Wuti. He was in the limelight. He had reached the 4th level of the Nebula Palace and was qualified to become a great emperor. He had also successfully entered the Supreme Leaderboard. That was enough to suppress everyone else. Hearing that name, even Ancestor Qing Mu fell silent and nodded slightly. This person is indeed in the limelight now. I didn't expect that someone else would be able to enter the Supreme Leaderboard. It's said that Lin Wuti doesn't have the bloodline of a monarch, nor does he seem to be from a powerful family. It's really rare for someone to rise from the ashes to reach such a level. The woman said as she poured tea. Although he's powerful, he hasn't met you yet. If your original body attacks, you can suppress him instantly. It won't be a problem for you to reach the 4th level. Of course, Han Tian said proudly, his eyes flashing with confidence. However, he also said that his original body was cultivating a supreme divine ability. He was still in seclusion and couldn't come out for the time being. He was also very depressed about this matter. If his original body came out, who else would dare to be so arrogant in front of him? At this moment, Ancestor Qing Mu said, although he had the possibility of becoming a great emperor, he was still thousands of miles away from that. Since ancient times, there were very few people who were qualified to become a great emperor. However, after hundreds of thousands of years, there were still many who were qualified to become one. However, only a few people became great emperors in the end. Some people didn't even have a single great emperor in tens of thousands of years. It was too difficult to become a great emperor. Even Han Tian understood this point. He said that even if he couldn't become a true great emperor, if he could take the first step and become a great emperor, he would be an invincible existence that could sweep across the world. At this point, he changed the topic. Grandpa Qing Mu, back then, there was a woman on the Qingmu Immortal platform who had unparalleled talent and eventually reached the peak of the Great Saint Realm. She even wanted to take that crucial step. However, she was defeated and severely injured. In the end, she died unexpectedly. And that person had a great relationship with the Heavenly Court. Lin Wudi is also a member of the Heavenly Court. We can't let him grow. Chapter 5236. Hearing this, Ancestor Greenwood's expression changed, and his gaze became gloomy. Han Tian was right. Before their Greenwood Immortal platform, there was indeed a person. His talent was too good, and countless people looked forward to it. Even if this person couldn't become a great emperor, he could still walk out of the sage realm and become a quasi-emperor. He could make their Greenwood Immortal platform regain its glory. Unfortunately, in that era, there was another person who suddenly rose up and swept through everyone. In the end, that person fought with their immortal platform's genius. The two fought. In the end, their genius was defeated. That person successfully stepped into the great emperor realm and became a quasi-emperor. In the end, he even broke through and became a great emperor. As for their proud daughter of heaven, after hearing this, she was angered to death. This made their immortal platform feel despair. That was their best chance to rise up and shine. However, it was interrupted and they didn't dare to take revenge. Because that person became a great emperor, a battle emperor. He was also the last great emperor. After the battle emperor, no one had become a great emperor in all these years. Thinking of these things, Ancestor Greenwood sighed. There was no need to talk about the past. Han Tian said, "Our ancestor said that in the past we couldn't become a great emperor because of the power of heaven and earth. However, in this era, the world changed greatly and ushered in a golden era of cultivation. This time, there was definitely someone who could become a great emperor. Many people would even walk out of the sage realm and become quasi-emperors. This was an excellent opportunity. Doesn't Grandpa Greenwood want to take revenge? Doesn't he want to recreate glory? Actually, there's no need for the Greenwood Immortal platform. We just need to work together. That Lin Wudi is definitely not my match. Also, I came here with another purpose, which is to integrate the quintessential world. You also know that the quintessential world has recovered and countless geniuses and experts have appeared. However, it's still lacking compared to the buried Emperor Star. Most importantly, those great emperors were buried in the buried Emperor Star. Those great emperors all came from the true spirit world. They were our ancestors. Therefore, the graveyard where they were buried is also ours. There are inheritance resources and treasures of the great emperors there. We must go in." Hearing this, Ancestor Greenwood's eyes shone with a cold light. "Do you already have a plan?" The tomb of a great emperor was a land of death. Ordinary people could not enter at all. Furthermore, the buried Emperor Star had many emperor races. If they were to go there rashly, it would probably lead to a great battle. "Grandpa Aoki, don't worry about that. We are already preparing for it. As long as we integrate the power of the true spirit world, we will be able to go there. At that time, the old ancestor of our primal chaos clan will also go. So what if those monarch clans oppose?" Ancestor Qingmu gasped. Was the primal chaos ancestor going to make a move as well? It was too unbelievable. This was because he knew that the old master of the Handan tribe was no ordinary person. He was an existence that was even more frightening than them. It was a quasi-emperor in the world. Those at the peak of the great sage realm were the grand ancestors, and they could sweep through everything. This was an era when the great emperors did not appear. Actually, above that were quasi-emperors. Previously, on the buried Emperor Star, a quasi-emperor had appeared and swept through the place, suppressing the 10,000 dragon dynasty to the point where they could not raise their heads. In addition to that quasi-emperor, some other ancient clans and sects also had quasi-emperors. However, the number of quasi-emperors was very small. Normally, they would not appear. However, if they really wanted to become a great emperor, then perhaps these legendary figures would appear. Ancestor Qing Mu thought for a long time and said, "If the primal chaos clan's quasi-emperors are willing to help, then we are willing to form an alliance and provide a strong chance of survival." They knew that the primal chaos clan was looking for their immortal platforms because of their strong vitality. If they wanted to enter the tomb of a great emperor, there would be great danger and they might die. If they brought a shocking amount of vitality, they might be able to return safely. This was the core value of their green wood immortal platforms. "All right, thank you, Grandpa Qingmu. When I am ready, I will pay you a visit." Han Tian stood up and turned to leave. Looking at Han Tian's departing figure, Ancestor Qingmu's eyes flickered. The woman beside him also stood up. She said, "Old master, are you really going to join forces with him? Also, are we really going to attack the heavenly court again? You are talking about Lin Wudi, right? Don't worry, we don't need to do anything. Han Tian will do it." He was the double crown champion, but he only received the title of a young powerhouse. On the other hand, Lin Wudi was a prime. Han Tian definitely could not tolerate this. He would make a move sooner or later. As for the alliance, we have to make preparations. We can ignore Lin Wudi, but we must enter the tomb of a great emperor. Perhaps he was right. In this era, a great emperor was going to appear. Even if we can't produce a great emperor this time, we must produce a boundary emperor. At this point, his eyes shone with a fierce light. He had been at the peak of the great sage realm for 3,000 years, but he couldn't take another step forward. He had once despaired, but Han Tian's words today gave him hope. If it was possible for him to obtain an opportunity, then he would definitely be able to take that crucial step, become a boundary emperor. In that way, he could personally restore the glory of the pure, cleansing, immortal platform. On the other side, Han Tian walked out and left the greenwood immortal palace. His eyes shone with a shocking light, as if he had become a king looking down on the world. "Greetings, young master," for figures knelt on one knee in front of him. They also had a primal chaos aura. They were from the primal chaos clan. Han Tian nodded. How were the preparations? They were ready. Next, they could invite those people. One of them said respectfully. Han Tian nodded. Good. Also, contact the people of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. I want to cooperate with them. Han Tian knew that to enter the buried Emperor Star, he had to find someone to cooperate with. The 10,000 Dragon Dynasty was a very good partner. He had to contact them in advance. With a sway of his body, he disappeared into the void like a bolt of lightning. The Yuhua ancient city was in turmoil. Lin Xian had been silently cultivating. Today he opened his eyes and the laws on his body slowly disappeared. The corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. He had already refined all the benefits he had obtained from the Nebula Hall. His strength had also increased compared to before, and even his cultivation base had increased. He was one step closer to the middle stage of the Great Sage Realm. He prepared to head to the Divine Palace, seeing that Murong Qingcheng and Yan Ryu were still in seclusion. He left a voice transmission and didn't disturb them. Instead, he turned and walked outside. He summoned Yunyu. Yunyu had come. At this moment, she was even more mysterious. She was like a high and mighty queen of the 9 heavens. However, when she came in front of Lin Xian, she bowed respectfully. Greetings, master. Lin Xian nodded and said, Come with me. Yes. Yun Yu followed behind Lin Xian respectfully. Chapter 52:37. Young master, where are we going? Yun Yu asked curiously. Lin Xian said that they were going to the shrine. The people from the shrine had also come to the Rain Feather Ancient City. Yan Ryu had already found out the exact location, and so did Lin Xian. Hence, they had to go there directly this time. In the southern region of the Rain Feather Ancient City, there was a mansion that was majestic and gave off an ancient aura. This was where the shrine had settled down. To be able to live in such a place, the shrine must have developed well over the years. They must have nurtured a group of top experts. How were Peacock and Xing Tian doing? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and walked forward. Yun Yu was also shocked when she saw this. It was a mysterious place. The people who lived here must have extraordinary power. That was for sure. To be able to settle down in a place like this, even if they were not immortal foundation experts, they must be from top clans in other places. Laughter came from the side. Lin Xian and the others turned around. In the distance, a fire demon wolf flew down from the sky. The flames on it were extremely terrifying. It was obvious that it was a mutated beast. Its strength and cultivation were extremely terrifying. However, there was a man sitting on the back of the flaming demon wolf. He was wearing battle armor and looked extremely valiant. His figure was not very burly. However, when he raised his hand, it was filled with supreme power. He was obviously a top genius. He was the one who had spoken earlier. Lin Xian looked at him and said indifferently, "Are you here too?" The man walked down from the alluring demon's back and said, "Of course. I am an old friend of the shrine." After speaking, he glanced at Lin Xian with disdain in his eyes. The person in front of him looked unfamiliar. He did not know him at all. He should not have any status. He should have come to the shrine to ask for help. However, he was different. He had an equal relationship with the shrine because his status was not ordinary. He was a top genius of the 4 symbols, sacred grounds. His name was Xiang Fei. The current sacred grounds were no longer the sacred grounds of the past. In the past, the sacred grounds did not even have a sage. However, as the spatial tunnel between the buried Emperor Star opened, the energy of the buried Emperor Star poured in. This caused the true spirit world to undergo earth-shaking changes. Now that true spirit world was filled with saints, their sacred ground naturally rose in status. It had reached an unimaginable height. Even when compared to the peerless great sects of the buried Emperor Star, they weren't inferior. Thinking of this, little Elephant Fei became even more proud. He directly ignored Lin Xian and looked to the side. When he saw Yunyu, he was also stunned. This was because he realized that this woman was really extraordinary. Not only was he handsome, but his aura was also mysterious. Half of his body was sacred, while the other half carried a gloomy aura. 2 completely opposite powers could perfectly fuse in one person. This was definitely an incredible martial arts legacy. This woman must be the pride of the heavens. However, why would such a person be together with an ant? He felt that it was a pity. Such a person should only be owned by an expert like him. Seeing Xiang Fei's fiery gaze, Yunyu coldly snorted and frowned. He looked at Lin Xian and said, "Young master, let's go." Lin Xian nodded and walked forward. Soon, they arrived at the front of the mansion. "Everyone, please wait." The guards of the mansion in front walked out and blocked the path. "May I know why you are here?" Lin Xian said, "I want to see Peacock and Xing Tian." The guard in front was stunned. "You mean the 2 elders?" "That's right." Lin Xian nodded. The guard seriously sized up Lin Xian, but he didn't recognize him. He asked, "Young master, do you have an invitation?" Lin Xian shook his head. The guard said with a cold expression, "The 2 elders are very busy. If you really want to see them, tell me your identity, and I'll help you line up. Maybe you can see them in a few months." At this moment, Xiang Fei walked over from behind. "You want to see Peacock Fairy? Don't you know her identity? She's an elder, a core elder. Ordinary sacred grounds elders aren't qualified to see her, let alone you. Young man, I think you'd better be down to earth." He shook his head with a gloating look. Then he walked forward. With a wave of his sleeve, he took out a token. "I'm Xiang Fei. from the four symbols, sacred grounds. Tell Peacock Fairy that I have something to see her about. So it's young Master Xiang. Wait a moment. The guards quickly bowed and went to report. Soon, a middle-aged man walked out from inside. He was the leader of the guards. He also walked over with a smile and cupped his fists. So it's Xiang Fei. Sorry for the disrespect. Please come in. His gaze only fell on Xiang Fei. As for Lin Xian, he didn't care about him at all. Such a person didn't have any status and wasn't worthy of his attention. Brother Jean, I'm here to disturb you again. I wonder if Peacock Fairy has time. I have something urgent to see her about. As he spoke, he walked inside with a smile. Young Master Xiang is here to see Elder Peacock. Elder Peacock is indeed very busy. You also know that she needs to make many decisions. But since young Master Xiang has spoken, I'll definitely recommend you. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked inside. There were also many guards in the mansion. At this moment, there was a lot of discussion. This Xiang Fei is incredible. It's said that he once ate heavenly treasures when he was young. As a result, his physique became extremely strong and possessed the strength of a dragon and tiger. In addition to the body-tempering mystic technique of the four symbols sacred ground, his physique is extremely strong. Although it can't compare to legendary physiques like the 9-yang divine body and the sacred body, below that it's definitely the best. I heard that he's wooing our Elder Peacock, but thinking about it, only such a person is worthy of Elder Peacock. Sounds of discussion could be heard. At this moment, they hurriedly shut up because they noticed a few figures walking out from the courtyard in the distance. Among them, the one walking at the front was a woman dressed in colorful clothes. Her face was extremely beautiful. At this moment, she was holding a scroll and frowning. It was obvious that she was thinking about something. There were some middle-aged men and elders around her. A group of people was walking outside. The guards on both sides hurriedly bowed when they saw her. Greetings, Elder Peacock. Greetings, Elder Xingtian. This was a group of elders. The others didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. Guard John also saw them and hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Elder Peacock. Greetings, elders. Xiang Fei, who was beside him, smiled and waved his hand. Long time no see, Peacock Fairy. Hearing someone shouting, Peacock raised her head and looked ahead. In the next moment, her pupils shrank. Her body swayed, and she quickly walked forward. She seemed to have discovered something incredible. Chapter 5238. Long time no see, Peacock Fairy. Xiang Fei smiled and walked over to greet her. He was extremely happy. Did you see that? Peacock ran over when she saw me. This shows how important I am to her. Next, I just need to think of some methods. With my handsome looks and talent, I can definitely conquer her. Thinking of this, he was even happier. Soon, Peacock arrived beside him, but she didn't stop at all and just walked past him. She was like a gust of wind. The smile on Xiang Fei's face froze. His pupils constricted. Damn it, what's going on? She wasn't walking towards him, but was welcoming someone else. Why was he so happy just now? Who is it? He was immediately enraged. Who has more face than me? He wanted to see who dared to be so arrogant in front of him. He suddenly turned his head, and at the next moment his pupils constricted and he almost jumped up, because he realized that Peacock was walking towards that kid. That kid was stopped by the guards and couldn't even enter the door. In his eyes, such a person was just an ant. He wouldn't even look at her in the eye. He probably wouldn't be qualified to enter this residence in his lifetime. But now Peacock was standing in front of the little ant and was extremely excited. She was even about to pounce on him. Damn it, who is this kid? The surrounding guards were also stunned. Does this young man have a powerful background? But why don't we know about it? The other elders also looked over one after another. Some of them were puzzled. Peacock came in front of Lin Xian and was extremely excited. "Young master, is it really you? This is great. Am I dreaming?" Xing Tian also strode over. His eyes were red. At the next moment, he cupped his fists respectfully and shouted, "Greetings, Hall Master. Hall Master, you're back. This is great. Hall Master." The surrounding guards were stunned. Xiang Fei was also stunned. Which Hall Master is he from? Is he from Immortal Foundation? But that shouldn't be the case. I've seen people from Immortal Foundation before. The law of aura is very mysterious. It doesn't look like him at all. Seeing the surrounding people in a daze, Xing Tian turned around and shouted coldly, "What are you guys waiting for? Come and greet the Hall Master. Do you want a rebel?" Some of the elders walked over with bloodshot eyes and greeted the Hall Master. The others were still in a daze, but in the next moment, they understood that this was their temple master. What? He was the temple master of deities, Templar. Xiang Fei's eyes widened in disbelief. Previously, he had mocked the other party, thinking that the other party had no status and was just an ant. He could easily crush them to death. But now, the other party was actually the Temple Lord of the Temple. This identity was shockingly high, and it could even be said that it was completely above his. The Temple Master of the deities Templar was the Holy Lord of their holy land. It was not something he could compare to. As expected, he saw Peacock in front of the other party, acting completely different. When he first met Peacock, her attitude was cold and arrogant. She was like a high and mighty goddess. Even if he wanted to meet her, he would have to wait a long time. But now, Peacock was very happy in front of him, even acting like a subordinate. This huge contrast almost made Xiang Fei faint. He was so angry that his face darkened. Seeing this scene, Guard Zhan was also dumbfounded. Previously, he did not pay much attention to Lin Xian, but now he understood that this was their temple master. He quickly ran over and said to the guards, "What are you waiting for? Quickly bow to the temple master." The guards bowed one after another. "Forgive us, temple master, we did not know." "Please punish us, temple master." They had previously stopped Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian smiled and said, "It's okay, the ignorant are not guilty." The surrounding guards heaved a sigh of relief. As expected of the temple master, he was indeed magnanimous. The other party was a high and mighty god of the 9 heavens. Why would he lower himself to the same level as ants? Thinking of this, they were even more in awe of the other party. Lin Xian looked at Leader Zhan and narrowed his eyes. He said, "Why are there so many unfamiliar faces?" Leader Zhan felt as if he had fallen into a 10,000-year-old ice cave after being stared at by Lin Xian. He felt that he had no secrets under the other party's eyes. This gaze was too terrifying. Is this their temple master? He's young, but he's even scarier than the older generation experts. Leader Zhan was immediately frightened and his scalp went numb. He said, respectfully, reporting to Temple Master, "I just joined the temple recently." Peacock also said that the true spirit world has undergone a great change. The world's strength has recovered and many geniuses and experts have risen. Therefore, Xing Tian and I decided to recruit a group of geniuses and experts. "Young master, you won't blame me, right?" Lin Xian said, "Of course not." "Before I left, I said that the 2 of you will be responsible for the temple's affairs. Speaking of which, you did the right thing. Let's go." Lin Xian waved his hand. Peacock said, "6th Elder, send someone to handle this matter. Today, I will stay by young master's side." An old man walked over and took the scroll. He bowed to Lin Xian and left. The others surrounded Lin Xian and respectfully invited Lin Xian in. The scene was empty in an instant, leaving only Xiang Fei standing there in a daze. During this process, all eyes were on Lin Xian. No one was looking at him. They seemed to have forgotten about his existence. Damn it. He gritted his teeth and snorted, then quickly left. He had no face to stay any longer. It was too embarrassing. After inviting Lin Xian into the main hall, Xingtian said, "Inform everyone to gather in front of the main hall." Guard John went to do it personally. "Don't worry, Temple Master." He informed everyone as quickly as possible. He also informed them that something big was going to happen. The guards, young geniuses, and even some of the older generation experts were alarmed. They were puzzled. What's going on? These people came to the front of the main hall. They found that Peacock and Xingtian were standing beside a young man with incomparable respect and admiration. Who is this person? Some people were puzzled. As mentioned before, the temple had recruited a group of geniuses and experts. Many of them became guards, and some became elders. Therefore, it was normal that they had not seen Lin Xian before. At this moment, these people were guessing Lin Xian's identity. Peacock stood out and said, "This is the temple master of our temple." "What? He's the temple master?" Countless people were shocked. Those who had just joined were discussing animatedly. They were really too shocked. They had heard that although the temple's matters were managed by Peacock and Xingtian, the real temple master was someone else. It was a young man who was incomparably mysterious. However, he was on the buried Emperor Star. Now that they saw him, they were shocked. He was too young. Was such a person really the temple master of the temple? However, seeing how respectful Peacock and Xingtian were, they knew that it should not be wrong. However, some of the newcomers were dissatisfied. This person did not look as old as them. His aura was not as terrifying as theirs. How could he be the temple master? Chapter 5239. Immediately, a genius stepped forward. "Elder Peacock, we joined the Divine Hall because of its reputation. Now that the Temple Lord is here, can you show us your skills?" "That's right." A few more geniuses stepped forward and said loudly, "If a sect wants to grow, then the Temple Lord must be strong. We won't follow a nobody." The other elders were also discussing spiritedly. They knew how strong Peacock and Xingtian were, and how strong the Divine Hall was. But they weren't willing to be controlled by a young man. Peacock frowned and Xingtian snorted. "Damn it, what are these guys trying to do?" He wanted to shout, but Lin Xian stopped him. He knew he was too young and couldn't convince the crowd, but he didn't care. Lin Xian stepped forward and looked at the crowd. He didn't say anything, but looked around. The new geniuses and elders weren't convinced. They wanted to see how the young temple lord would deal with the situation. They thought he would be helpless, but they soon realized that wasn't the case. Under Lin Xian's gaze, the crowd fell silent. No one dared to speak. The geniuses and elders were shocked. It was as if an invisible force was suppressing their souls. What's with his gaze? Why is he so scary? It must be a psychological effect. Isn't he just the temple lord? I'm not afraid of him. Some of the geniuses gritted their teeth and glared. Lin Xian said when he saw the silence, "I am the temple lord of the Divine Hall, Lin Wudi." It was a simple sentence, but everyone was stunned after hearing it. Lin Wudi. He's Lin Wudi. What? That's impossible. Which Lin Wudi? Is he the Lin Wudi on the sovereign leaderboard? Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the scene in front of them. Peacock said, "That's right. Our temple lord is the famous Lin Wudi. He's on the sovereign leaderboard and is qualified to be a great emperor." Everyone was in an uproar. The new geniuses and elders were stunned. They were completely convinced and didn't have any more dissatisfaction. This young man was simply too powerful. Although they had never met Lin Xian before, they had heard of Lin Wudi's name many times. When they arrived at the Feather Ancient City, they even heard that Lin Wudi had reached the 4th floor of the Starfall Hall on his own. His status was above that of the Crown Prince, and he was the only one who had obtained the qualifications to become a great emperor. Such a person would have unparalleled achievements in the future. Even the crown prince wasn't a match for him, so who would dare to challenge him? Greetings, palace master. Greetings to the palace master. The elders and geniuses bowed one after another. This time they were truly impressed. They were even excited. With such a person as the temple master, they would definitely stand at the peak of the universe in the future. Lin Xian looked around, and a smile appeared on his face. Everyone, cultivate well and fight against the 9 heavens with me in the future. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. The people in front of the temple raised their arms and shouted, pledging to follow the temple master to death. Looking at this scene, Yunyue was shocked. She also came from a top family. Although she was known as the #1 genius in her family, she couldn't convince the others. There were even many people who wanted to assassinate her and take her place. However, Lin Xian was different now. These people were completely convinced by Lin Xian. When this power gathered together, it would be terrifying to the extreme. Peacock and Xing Tian smiled. Their years of hard work hadn't been in vain. They had finally helped Lin Xian a little. Then the crowd dispersed. Lin Xian, Peacock, and Xing Tian gathered together. Peacock said, "Young master, there's a gathering coming up. Do you want to join?" Gathering? Lin Xian was curious. What was it? Why hadn't he heard of it before? Peacock said, "This gathering was only for the sects of the true spirit world. Young master had been in the buried Emperor Star all these years, so it was normal that no one invited him. Since it was only for the true spirit world," Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The current true spirit world was extraordinary and could be said to be on par with the buried Emperor Star. Since these people were gathered together, there might be something going on. He said, "Sure, I also want to see which geniuses have come out of the true spirit world." "That's great." Peacock was delighted. She looked at Xing Tian and said, "Xing Tian, you can stay here. Give your spot to the hall master." "All right, hall master, this is a very mystical gathering." "How mystical is it?" Lin Xian was also surprised. Peacock said that after entering, everyone would hide their identity. Others wouldn't be able to find out unless they revealed their identity. Moreover, this gathering was a small-scale martial arts exchange. It even had an auction as its theme. After entering, there might be treasures that young master would like. Hide their identity? Interesting. 2 days later, Lin Xian and company set off. Xing Tian stayed behind to watch over the mansion. Lin Xian brought Yunyu and Peacock to the gathering. The gathering was held in another mansion. Before entering, the people there had already sent over some black robes. Lin Xian and company put them on. They discovered that the black robes were able to block out vision and soul spirit detection. It was indeed to hide their identity. Interesting. Let's go. The group walked towards the destination. After entering, they discovered that there were many people in black robes. Lin Xian couldn't detect their aura. Similarly, they didn't know who Lin Xian and company were. There was an additional layer of mystery between them. At this moment, Peacock walked towards a loft. That was the Cloud Sea Pavilion. She had already booked it. After all, people of their status wouldn't be able to sit in the main hall. Every one of them would have their own pavilion. The Cloud Sea Pavilion was booked by Peacock. The Cloud Sea Pavilion was mysterious. There were clouds rolling around it. It had an extraordinary aura. Peacock walked forward, but was stopped by someone. "Gentlemen, please wait." Peacock stopped and took out a token. "I had already booked this place. Lead the way." However, the guard in front said, "I'm sorry. This place is already taken. Gentlemen, please go somewhere else." Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Peacock was stunned. "Already taken? What a joke. I had already booked this place 5 days ago. I even paid for it. You actually gave it to someone else?" "I don't know." The guard shook his head. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked over from afar. He waved his fan and smiled. "What's the matter?" The guard told the middle-aged man what had happened, and the middle-aged man said the same thing. Gentlemen, forget it. Let me give you a piece of advice. The people inside have extraordinary status. I'm afraid you can't afford to offend them. There was a hint of warning in his voice. Peacock was enraged. Can't afford to offend them? I want to see who dares to challenge the temple. As she spoke, she waved her hand. The temple's token appeared. There was a terrifying law on it. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.